Hola chicos, ¿me pueden escuchar o qué? A ver, necesito mi celular para ver si el stream está funcionando bien. A ver, ¿me escucha? ¿Me escucha? Ok, yo veo que hay alguien, yo veo que hay alguien aquí. Por favor, puedes esperarme, necesito sacar, o sea, conseguir mi celular, agarrar mi celular para ver si el en vivo está funcionando bien. Me prestan como 2 minuticos, por favor. Listo, 2 minutos. Listo, listo, ya vuelvo, ya vuelvo. Quería, perdón por reírme. Hola, Vanessa, ¿qué más? ¿Cómo estás? How are you? Liveo, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo vas? Bonnie, how are you? Guys, I apologize for, wow, 11 people are here, so I'll go ahead and start talking. I apologize for starting so late. I know that my intention was to start at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hola, Deuce, ¿qué más? Sorry for breathing hard. I just came from running. But yeah, my plan was to start at that's that's why I'm starting so late. So my plan was to start at 7 o'clock, but I was cutting my hair. I'm going to put the blame on. So I've been cutting. I'm 28 right now. I've been cutting my hair since I was like 19. So that's 9 years. And before the past month or so, I never messed up on a haircut or like. Quiero decir esto en español. Estaba pensando en cómo se dice a bald spot. How do you say a bald spot in Spanish? No sé. Pero I never cut a bald spot in my head until my friend Jalen gave me some bad energy. Okay, saying that, oh my gosh, I don't know how you've gone so long without cutting a bald spot in your head. He told me that maybe a couple of weeks ago. As he told me that, like a few minutes after he told me that, I cut a bald spot in my head. Today, the same thing happened. So I've got to get this bad luck off of me so that I can get back to my long streak of not cutting my hair incorrectly, improperly. But long story short, that's why I'm late and that's why my hair is so short. I don't mind though; it'll grow back. Hello, no sé. Okay. Well, I see we have some people in here. The intent with this live is really nothing super profound. I'm going to post a link. I do have a couple of topics I'd like to discuss. I'm going to post the link if I can figure out how to do this. I used to know how to do this. It's simply just, okay, if you all see that link, if you'd like to join, talk about anything, I'm not some all-knowing wizard, so if you have any information that you'd like to impart on me, I'm interested in talking about it, or just any general topics related to language learning, travel, learning Spanish in particular, any unique things that you've learned that you'd like to share, you can feel free to join at that link right there. Other than that, I'm going to discuss just my channel. I don't plan on being on here for super long, but I'm going to discuss my channel along with some travel plans that I have as long as my health permits me to. And then I'm also going to discuss a possible group trip that I would love to do with you all. I just, I'm not the best planner, so it's kind of like a rogue idea. So I'll start off. I see that we have 14 people in here. As you all know, I'm not going to be doing a lot of interviews in the style that I used to do on my channel, where I just ask someone, hey, how'd you learn Spanish? And, what's your experience been doing this? Not that I'm burnt out from doing those. I like to diversify the content that I have on my channel. I've invested some money into a new camera, so I'd like to use it, you know what I mean, in the streets. And so I think next Sunday, I have a video planned where I went around Metro Atlanta and asked a bunch of people, a bunch of Spanish speakers, if they'd be willing to be on film. And if so, what is the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to them? And so I think I have a unique video coming out where you can, you can hear some interesting stories and at the same time practice listening to Spanish. But I'd like to get some ideas from you all regarding what would be some content that you'd like to see. I'm also going to share how difficult it is to really get people to be willing to join your, to work with you. I'm thinking in Spanish, es muy difícil convencer a la gente a trabajar contigo, a colaborar contigo en cosas así, porque a muchas personas les da pena salir en la cámara y todo eso. Entonces, me pareció muy difícil. I'm looking down at the comments here to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. But yeah, it's kind of hard. And so, for example, when I would ask people, it took me a while to get this video recorded, but when I would ask people, hey, are you willing to show up on camera? Typically, if they'd even allow me to get close to them and ask them the question, they'd be like, no, me da pena, no quiero, or they have some kind of response like that. A lot of times, to be honest, guys, and I mentioned this in the video that I have coming out, nobody responded. I don't think I have a vibe of like, I don't have a negative vibe, but a lot of people in particular were a little like skeptical, like, why is this stranger walking up on me? What does he want? What is he asking? And again, it wasn't ever something that was like super overt, but you can kind of feel it. So it's a little awkward to get content like that out. Especially, I don't know. I don't know about the entire United States, but in my city, it can be a little tough. But just a heads up, I will be going to, again, if my health permits, I will be going to Costa Rica within the next few weeks. I'm not going to say when. Hola, Timothy, ¿cómo vas? I will be going to Costa Rica within the next few weeks with someone that you all know from my channel. You'll hopefully figure that out when you connect the dots. If you've been following me for a while, you'll connect the dots when I upload those videos of who I'm going to Costa Rica with. But that should be interesting. I've always been interested in going to Costa Rica. I'm just not a fan of traveling solo anymore. I like to, Jalen, ¿qué más? Jalen, les conté la historia de por qué ahora estoy cortándome los bald spots. ¿Cómo se dice bald spots? ¿Cómo se dice? Pero ahora o sea, tengo que darte las gracias, ¿no? por esa mala suerte. Esta mala suerte que tengo ahora, lamentablemente. Pero yeah, I'm going to Costa Rica, and I'd already had that trip booked for, ¿quién es ese calvito? Debido a ti, Jalen, debido a ti. ¿Qué más, Ryan? Ryan? Is that, I don't know. Ryan, no sé. Carlos, ¿cómo vas? ¿Cómo estás, hermano? But yeah, I'm going to Costa Rica. And so again, if you all have anything that you'd like me to document out there, you see my other travel videos. Ryan, okay, got you, Ryan. You've seen my other travel videos, but if you have any ideas for that, just let me know. I also would like to go back to Colombia. That's the plan. That's the plan. I have some hesitation for one of two reasons. One, I've already been, and two, my reason for going is simply to visit a couple of friends of mine that will most likely be back in the United States when I have the opportunity to travel. So Colombia is at like 70% yes, 30% no, depending on the circumstance. And again, yeah, I'll leave it at that. But like I said, I'd also like to take a group trip of some sort at the end of the summer or early in the summer. I'm referring to you, Jalen. That's the person I'm going to visit, but estás herido ahora. So yeah, so I need some questions, guys. I'm not super prepared with topics or anything. Entonces, si tienen preguntas, me ayudaría bastante, la verdad. ¿Qué más les puedo decir? Can you all tell me a city that interests you? Like, Julian, ¿qué más? Julian, hace mucho tiempo. Wow, hace mucho tiempo que no veo tu nombre aquí. Wow. ¿Cómo vas? I missed the lives. Okay. Yeah, I haven't done them in a long time. I just haven't been as active as I should be on my YouTube channel. But what has motivated me to start back uploading as much as possible is, for one, for some reason I have this learning Spanish. It comes in waves. Tus ganas, your desire, your energy, and so as of late, I've had a lot more energy, and I've just fallen back in love with the Spanish language. Not that I ever wasn't; it just became normal to me. But I'm back, super interested and super motivated, so I'm back uploading videos. Thorpland, también hace mucho. No hace mucho tiempo. O sea, veo tus comentarios mucho. Gracias, gracias. Oh, thank you, Thorpland. Thank you. Thorpland, can you tell me something that you like, and then an honest critique? Do you have any honest critique that you could give me about the book? Because I've asked a lot of people for feedback. Jalen gave me some feedback, but his perspective is unique because he already speaks Spanish and knows Spanish well. So when he got the book, and so I'd like to know from somebody who maybe was a beginner or in the earlier stages of learning the language, how the book has helped you. Do you think it's a solid resource to start with? Do you think it's not? The reason I ask is because there is a school that reached out to me that is considering purchasing the book, a class set of the book, for their Spanish 1 class. And so I'd like to know how helpful you think it is for somebody that's starting out, like a student, maybe like a high schooler that has no base in the Spanish language. Hola MLB, ¿qué más? ¿Qué más? Dus, Cali, Colombia, por la Petronía. Pero música. Sí, en agosto. Ok, sí, iría allá. Sí, eso me interesa mucho. Dus, la verdad es que me encanta viajar, pero para mí, lo más bonito de un viaje es tener una razón para viajar, ¿no? Entonces, si voy para visitar a un amigo o para asistir a un evento, y en esos casos me encanta, pero ir de paseo por nada más pasear, para mí no me interesa. Entonces, ese evento sí me parece una buena idea. La única cosa es que no sé si voy a tener tiempo en agosto. ¿Por cuánto tiempo dura el festival? MLB Properties, yeah, Spanish is an up and down journey. It very much is. It very much is. Just like anything else, right? Any other skill, any other hobby. You have times where you just love it, and then times where you kind of get burnt out. I remember when I played guitar, it was like that. It's like that with a lot of hobbies. And MLB, thank you for that feedback. Okay, love your book. You helped me out a lot. Okay, I appreciate that. And you're making progress. That's the key. I love to hear that. That's the reason I made the book, to be honest. I can. Wow. Okay. It breaks down some concepts of grammar in a very easy to understand method. That is what I was hoping for, Thorpeland. So I appreciate that. And again, I appreciate the positive feedback, I do, but any critiques I'd also like as well, if you have any. Oasis Ayub. Hi, how can I learn Spanish? You can learn Spanish I'll give you the short and sweet version, and then I'll send you to a video that you can watch. I have one, but there are countless videos on the internet. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but I'm gonna call you OA. OA. First things first, and I forgot my own strategy. First things first, you should purchase some book that has that teaches teaches Spanish for beginners. Use that book as your guide. Do those exercises in that book, if permissible with your schedule. Do 1 chapter per day simultaneously while you do that. And I have books that I can recommend. I can recommend my book, but if you don't want to use my book, you can use Madrigal's Magic. I don't know if you're trolling there, but Madrigal's Magic Keys to Spanish, whatever it is. You can use that book, any book. I'm rambling. You can use any book, use that, do a chapter a day. On top of that, simultaneously listen to content that's designed for Spanish language learners progressively. You're not going to understand anything at the beginning. You won't. That's normal. I didn't understand anything. Almost all of us don't understand anything at the beginning. But progressively, those exercises that you're doing in your book, a mix of you listening consistently, and consistently can mean 30 minutes to an hour a day, on top of you reading basic children's books or books that are at low levels so that you begin to acquire vocabulary. And then as you progress, what you'll notice is the words that you're learning and translating and acquiring when you're reading and doing those exercises, you'll start hearing them when you're listening, especially the most common words in the language. it's almost inevitable that you'll remember those words if you're consistently doing what I've mentioned. And over time, that process will snowball. At some point in there, find somebody that can help you practice speaking. And that's the short and sweet version of it. Bald spot, calva en la cabeza. Pero se dice calva. Me estás enseñando, no lo sé, pero es lo que se dice. I assume you're no longer studying Spanish, but it's still a part of your life. How does it fit into your life now? Levile, I don't even, I'm pausing because I don't, follow me, right? The question in itself is a great question, but because Spanish has been integrated so much in my life, I don't even view it as I'm not integrating it into my life. It is what it is. What it is. Like it's a part of my life. So my phone is in Spanish. If I want to read about, what did I read earlier today? An article. I don't know if you guys saw, but there was. I'm not trying to be negative, but there was a stabbing in like a river in Minnesota, in like the Twin Cities, of like some teenagers were beating up an old man or whatever, and unfortunately he took out a knife and stabbed one of them, and a few of them died, or one died. It doesn't matter. But I read that story and I heard that news article. I heard the news story rather in Spanish. So it's literally just a part of my life. So to answer your question tangibly, I'm always listening to something in Spanish, podcasts, YouTube videos in the background. I do it in English as well, though. I mean, it's about 50-50. But when I have time to read, I'm reading in Spanish. I always am in contact with my friends via WhatsApp or around here in Metro Atlanta that speak Spanish. And so it's just a consistent thing. Like you said, I don't study it at all anymore. At all. There's literally nothing else for me to study. The only other level that I could get to is just acquiring more vocabulary that's like deeply rooted into different cultures. But in terms of grammar or like anything, I don't study anymore. There's nothing to study anymore, and that's not arrogance. That's just like I would be studying vocabulary lists. What we really need to do is plan what content we're going to make when we link up, for sure, Jalen. For sure. And I'm going to need your help with that because a lot of these video ideas, either directly or indirectly, have been inspired by you. I love the book and try to read it often. Thank you so much. BD. Waziz. Okay, got it, Waziz. Got it. I'll make sure to pronounce your name correctly, Waziz. What is an effective way to learn vocab that's not wordless? Ryan, what I was mentioning a few minutes ago, just read. Let me see if I have a book here. Yeah, I'll show you guys. Some of these books are in English, but okay. So I've been busy, but in the last maybe 4 months, I've read these 3 books. Orgullo Prieto, Inteligencia Emocional. I did not finish this book. It got super boring. And then La Casa en Mango Street, un clásico. Okay, and in all of these books, what's an effective way to learn vocabulary that's not wordless? You may not be at a level where you can read a book like this, but you can find a children's book and read it. And all you have to do is, depending on your level, for me, like new words that I find in here, if they show up more than once, I'm going to have it memorized. It just happens. Now I can't describe the neuroscience behind it, but at my stage of learning Spanish, if I see a word in one of these books, for example, this book had a lot of like Mexican slang, and somebody taught me a lot of palabras despectivas, like pejoratives in this book. And so I learned a lot of them through this book simply by being exposed to them more than once. Again, I'm rambling a little bit. To answer your question, you just simply need to read. If you're reading super beginner content, read it more than once. Read it maybe 2 or 3 times, and then it's almost impossible for you to not remember that. I'm going to be honest. I have to be delicate with how I say this. I've learned through personal experience, that might be a intellectually privileged point of view. What am I saying by that? For a lot of us, we can just read something once, twice, 3 times at the most, and we have the vocabulary down. I've learned through personal experience, through helping people learn Spanish, through helping people learn English. It's not that way for everyone, okay? And I don't know if it's just certain people are better at learning languages or what it is, but it doesn't work that way for everyone. But most people on average, if you expose yourself to a couple of words 2 to 3 times, you'll have it memorized, especially if you're consistently listening and you hear it in the background often, you'll be fine. Lafayette, ¿qué más? ¿Qué más? ¿Todo bien? Zonas calvas, puntos calvos. Ok, thank you. Entonces tengo un punto calvo aquí, atrás de mi cabeza. Entonces por eso que ando calvo hoy, pero mi pelo crece muy rápido. Entonces en unas semanas voy a tener de nuevo mi afro. I enjoy your channel, Mike. I also have your book, helps me out a lot. Thank you so much, man, Mike Lee. Thank you, Mike Lee. I think I've seen your videos. I think when people comment, I click on their profiles to see if they have a channel, and I am pretty sure I've seen your Spanish journey. I don't want to put your business out here, but I think you're not too far from me. So, que sigas aprendiendo, hermano. How long did it take you to study Spanish overall? Spanish journey. Can you be more specific, and then I can give you a specific answer? Because I hate what I hate, and what I hated when I first started learning Spanish was when people would ask like, "Hey, how long does it take to learn Spanish?" When I first started, and I was trying to get a gauge on how long it takes, or learn anything, right? Like, for example, the other day I was thinking about playing guitar again, and I was looking up how long it takes to learn fingerstyle guitar, and every video was like, "Well, it depends. If you study this," it's like, come on, guys. I get it. There's nuance, but give me a roundabout estimate on how long it could take, and so I can give you that, but I just need to know what you are defining as studying Spanish overall. If you can give me that, if you can tell me what you mean, I can give you a specific time period based on certain parameters. Rob Ski, hola Mike, excited to see what your next journey is. Thank you, Rob. The next journey will be Costa Rica, most likely. I'm not gonna promise it 100% yet. Is Colombia, and then after that, I'd like to do a group trip to either Panama or El Salvador, but that will be based on you all's willingness to do it. Children's books do help. I agree, they do help. And to me, they're kind of nostalgic. It kind of puts you back in. I don't know. It's nostalgic. It's feels good. I don't know. What advice would you give to a female who wants to travel to Latin America to learn English or learn Spanish? Jay, can you tell me if you're talking? I'll just answer as if you're saying learn. Obviously, you're not saying learn English. You wouldn't go to Latin America to learn English. Jay, I am safety wise knowing locals before going. Yeah, Jay, I've never been to a outside of Puerto Rico and Mexico as a teenager with my family. I've never been to a Latin American country without un conocido, without somebody that I know there that could take care of me. And what do I mean by take care of me? Mike, has llegado al aeropuerto? Llámame cuando salgas, ¿ok? Te voy a esperar. I've only been out of the country 2 or 3 times, I think, 2 times as a Spanish speaker. But when I went to Colombia, my friend Sharon, and she and I are friends to this day. Like, we were on the phone the other day just talking about her trips across the United States. She's actually going to do another video with us, on the channel. But long story short, I had her, like, when I landed in Bogota, she's like, Michael, llámame cuando llegues al hotel. Mañana te voy a recoger en este lado. Te voy a pasar mi dirección para que tengas, si necesitas lo que sea, llámame. So I can't speak to the experience like a solo. I can't even speak to the experience as a solo male traveler, let alone a solo female traveler down there. I would recommend, and a lot of people, especially people of the old school, would say, hey, don't do this. You can't trust strangers. And that's true. But online nowadays, I'm online and I'm not a weirdo, a creep. I'm not a murderer. I don't have a hidden agenda to do something wrong to somebody. I have good intentions. And so if you're a good, if you have a good perception for people and whether or not someone has ill intentions, I try to go online. Maybe if you want to take a trip in December, what are we in? April? If you want to take a trip in December, around like April or May, go online to a language learning platform or try to go online to one of these applications where teachers are, iTalki, something like that. Somebody on iTalki is not going to plan to rob you. Like, some of these people have professional titles and stuff like that. It would just be the odds of that happening would be super low. So long story short, meet someone beforehand if that's a concern of your safety, which it should be. I'm concerned for my safety in Los Angeles. I'm concerned for my safety anywhere. So meet someone beforehand as best as you can, feel them out, and then go from there. And then use them as your point of contact when you go to the country. Doesn't mean you have to be with them the entire time, but having someone in a country, if someone was to come to Atlanta, I think it would be great to know at least one person here to help you out. So I think that's a great safety tip. I don't know if I answered your question there. That's how language learning works, to be honest. That's why you need exposure. Sometimes people overthink language learning because they're looking for shortcuts. Exactly, quick tempo. You say it all the Jalen. Sorry, you say it all the time. Some stuff is just related to time. Like you can't avoid it. There's no shortcuts with it. I'm fluent in Spanish in 1.5 years after living abroad. That makes sense. That makes sense. Free game. You tell me this though. You actually put, o sea, le echaste muchas ganas, no? Like you actually put effort into learning. I'm assuming, right? Um, I'm not. I may be reading into your comment a little too much, but um, I don't think you're saying just being in the country is what taught you the language. I'm sure you studied. You might have attended a language learning school or something. Let me know. I recall you put down Swahili a while back. Any other languages that you may be interested in learning or are currently working on right now? Levile, I'm very much interested in learning Japanese. I'm still very much interested in learning Swahili, but my interest level does not surpass my aversion to working hard to learn the language. Again, my interest level, my desire to be a speaker of those two languages does not surpass my aversion for the hard work that it would take to learn both of those languages. And so as a result of that, I am not learning them right now. Um, Also, there's just a time investment that I can't make into one of those languages right now. Maybe if I'm, out of graduate school in my late 30s, early 40s, and I have this endless amounts of time and I can invest in learning a language that's not practical, quote unquote, in my area where I live, sure. Or if something hits me and I'm like, I want to move to Japan or want to move to Tanzania or Kenya or one of the Swahili speaking countries, then in that case, sure. But right now, no. For learning vocab, honestly, Duolingo has taught me a ton of words and forces me to use them over and over again. I've taken that knowledge into other ways of studying. Thorplin, I agree. I agree. I do, as you know, I'm not a fan of it simply because of the time investment um, versus rate of return is my concern with Duolingo. But rote memorization does work to an extent. Okay, Jay. Yeah, hopefully I answered your question there. It is intellectual privilege, but process is the same. Might take you 2 times to someone else, but the exposure and space of repetition is the same. Jalen, I agree. I agree. I agree. I agree. But I agree. Like I agree. But from personal experience, Jalen, right now, if I were to say, Jalen, and this is true, to say why in Japanese, you say nande. Say nande. You obviously will be able to say that to me. That will be insulting to you. There are lots of people that even after that direct instruction struggle to just spit back out to you what you gave them. And so I agree, but for some people it's like 4 times. Some people it's almost impossible. It's like nande is why. Say nande. Say it. Say nande. I don't know. Um yeah, I'm on this side of town, north side of Atlanta. Okay, yeah. Mike Lee, we're not that far. We're not that far from each other. Depending on where you are, it might be 30 minutes from you. If that. Okay, that's pretty helpful. Honestly, I major in foreign language, so I'm trying to get ahead. Okay, before I start Spanish classes. Okay. Um, Ryan, what have you already started studying or you're about to go into college or is this a graduate program or what? iTalki is a great resource. I use it every week. Mike Lee, it is great. I'll tell you something. I'll be honest though. When it stops being great, and I hate that I have to fight against this, but right now at my level, it's not expensive at all, right? But right now at my level, and with for the fact and because of the fact that I have people that I know that speak Spanish, it's almost like, why am I gonna pay somebody to speak to me in Spanish at my level? Okay. At your level, I don't know, if you're intermediate or beginner, it makes sense. But at my level, I'm always like, I still book classes on iTalki at times. And in my head, I'm like, why am I paying for somebody to speak to me in Spanish when I can just call up a buddy and he'll correct me if I need to be corrected, or she'll correct me if I need to be corrected. So it's kind of a weird dynamic as as your Spanish progresses. It's like iTalki. I mean, it's obvious it loses its value, but it's almost like una estafa, me parece. A mi nivel. What are you studying in grad school, JR? Estoy estudiando la enseñanza de inglés como segundo idioma. Basically, English as a second language, the teaching English as a second language, theories behind second language acquisition and all that kind of stuff. Claro, mi rey. I moved my whole life to Santo Domingo. Some of the most impactful memories have been in Spanish. I did not take a class, but I remember when I first came across your channel, I knew casi cero. Wow, freaking. ¿Cuánto tiempo? Ya hablas español, dijiste, ¿no? Tienes un año y pico, un año y medio hablando español ya. Sí, sí, eso no es bastante tiempo, pero es suficiente tiempo para poder decir que uno habla el idioma. Obviamente se te van a hacer difíciles unas cosas, ¿no? Pero si lo hablas, es el punto, ¿no? I learned on my own for months. I did not use English. Okay. Y dijiste que pasaste. Okay, I moved my whole life to Santo Domingo. ¿Cómo así? ¿Cómo es que? How did you move? What do you mean? I moved my whole life. Oh. Ya. Entiendo. Te mudaste. O sea, you live in the Santo Domingo ahora. Okay, entiendo. Currently using Dreaming Spanish, and it's helped me so much on my listening. Lamine, can you please? I'm vaguely familiar with Dreaming Spanish. I'm vaguely familiar with it, but not super familiar with it. Could you break down the tenets of that philosophy? I hear it so much on my channel, but I'm just not super familiar with it. Can you tell me what are the tenets of it? I'm familiar with the fact that it's based in comprehensible input, but what differentiates Dreaming Spanish from the other language learning methods that emphasize comprehensible input? I'm just ignorant. I'm literally asking out of ignorance. How many hours do you recommend to practice listening? I want to improve my listening per day. 30 minutes is fine. 30 minutes to an hour is fine. Depending on your level, if you're a beginner, 30 minutes is fine. You're not going to understand half that stuff. So yeah, listen 30 minutes. The goal in listening is to it's like it's training your ear to understand and perceive the sounds. Like, where does the word stop and start? How should this sound? It's just ear training, and it's also glue for the other processes that you're working through. Again, if you see the word, I'm looking at books in front of me. If you see the word libro when you're reading, or when you're doing your exercises and you're writing a simple sentence like, I have a book, yo tengo un libro. And if you're listening for 30 minutes a day and you hear someone say, ay, me compré un libro hace unos días y el libro me pareció muy bacano. You just heard the word libro twice. You already exposed yourself to the word libro when you were doing your exercises. At that point, you've learned that word without any rote memorization. So 30 minutes to an hour a day is fine. Do you think it's worth to learn slang in Spanish? It seems pointless since slang is specific to each country and sometimes a specific region of a country. Chris, you need to learn slang. I'm sorry. You need to learn it. And I'm going to tell you why you need to learn it. I did an interview recently. Sorry, I'm stuttering. It's just funny to me. I did an interview recently with a YouTube channel called Mexitalki. Their channel used to be called Cheleando con Mexitalki. And they're two Mexican guys that I used to watch. I still watch and listen to their podcast a lot. And during the interview, okay, and like this is very Mexicans have a funny sense of humor, like a very funny sense of humor where everything has double meanings, and it's just super funny to me. And so during the interview, seriously, I don't know if stoically is a word, but with a serious face, one of the guys, Efra, he asked me, he's like, Mike, I'm smiling when I'm saying, he's like, Mike, ¿te gusta el chile? Okay, that seems innocent. Efra was not asking me, si a mí me gusta el chile. He was asking me something else that's a little has a different meaning, basically. And I'll let those of you that understand Spanish slang from Mexico get what he was asking me. And once I caught it, I was like, no soy estúpido, ya lo caché. And I use that word because they're Mexicans. But long story short, you need to understand that, yeah, there are words that are just super common. I'm not saying you need to understand every slang phrase, but you need to understand slang because it's sprinkled all throughout Spanish from different countries. Now, I'm going to be honest. I can't tell you any slang from Paraguay. Like, I can't tell you any slang. I'm going to be honest also. I can't tell you much slang from Puerto Rico. So, like, to your point, it is difficult to learn it from all countries. But most slang in Colombia, I could tell you. Most slang in Peru, I could tell you. Most slang in Mexico, I could tell you. Even down to like Guatemala, Costa Rica, I could tell you a little bit. Panama, for sure, I could. But it's just simply because I spent time. Venezuela, I could tell you slang. Yeah, I could tell you. Dominican Republic, I could tell you a lot of slang. So even with me studying the slang from all those different countries, I still am not comfortable with Puerto Rican slang or Uruguayan slang or Argentinian slang. But it's important. You'll be lost a lot of times if you don't know it. How much money do you think you spent on your Spanish journey? Lafayette, great question. Amazing question. Let's do some math. Uh, I was spending maybe $40 a month on classes. That's 480 in a year. I did that for maybe 2 years. We're looking at 960. I need you to keep track of this. 960 for classes over 2 years. I'm just gonna say for the first 2 years. In terms of books, maybe in terms of like language learning books and then just general books, maybe 350. So we're at 960 plus 350, 1310. I'm gonna include my trips to Colombia on top of that and Peru. In Colombia, the flight at that point in 2020, nobody was traveling. That was the COVID year. Maybe I think I paid like 300 for the trip, plus staying there was cheap, maybe 250. We're at 1860. And then Peru, the flight was 650. Staying in Peru, I think I maybe spent like $700 in Peru. We're at $3,210. Now that's I don't know if that sounds like a lot, if it sounds like nothing. Let's consider though, if I divide that by 12, that's $267 a year. I know that was over a 2 year period. Let me multiply this by 12. Let's do it over 20 divided by 24, which is 2 years. That was $133 a month, basically. Most people spend that on Zaxby's or In and Out in a month. So I don't consider it a huge investment. The biggest investment is time, not money. Because Lafayette, a lot of the stuff I was purchasing, all these books and stuff, I could have found the same quality information online. I just like to have tangible books in my hand. Yeah, I'm A2, B2 still. Okay, got you, Mike Lee. It just takes time. From what I remember, you haven't been learning for a long time, so it just takes time. Quick tip, yeah, I wouldn't pay for iTalki at this point unless they were gonna help me do university work in Spanish or something. Exactly, Jalen. To me, it just feels like it literally feels like una estafa. Even like some people know, but like once we get into like some of the people I started with, justifiably, they deserve every dollar, every peso. Like some of them are charging $25 an hour, $30 an hour. Y se lo merecen. They deserve it. Se lo merecen. But I'm not paying that just to have a conversation for an hour. I'm just not. When I could call up my buddy and say, hey, I can just call somebody and talk in Spanish. I don't need to do that. I use Spanish all the time here, so no need to do that. I'm already also Jalen. You tell me that I know I'm behind on the comments, but Jalen, another thing that I noticed, and you have this personality as well. I consider myself a good listener, and so sometimes, and we mentioned this before, and this doesn't happen. This hasn't happened recently, but years ago, what used to happen was I'd be in an iTalki class, and I'm like, I haven't said a word. Like, I haven't said a word, and I just paid you to talk. And so yeah, I still book classes with Sandra, my tutor Sandra. But other than that, I don't have classes on iTalki as much. I'm already a college student. My major is JPNSP. I take my first Spanish class next semester. Okay, got you, Ryan. Dreaming Spanish counts your hours of how much you're listening to Spanish. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Um, if you think you're scrolling on Reels or TikTok, make an account where you only see content in Spanish. You hear how people talk normally and can read comments people write. Free game, that's some free game right there. Exactly, agreed. I'm not a big fan of las redes sociales, ni tampoco mi celular. I usually stay far away from my phone. But like you said, if you're going to be on your phone either way, hey, que lo hagan de esa forma. Been studying Spanish for 11 months. I'm fine with grammar, but speaking is where I struggle to string a sentence together. Frustrating. What's your advice on improving speaking Spanish conversations? Bilingual nerd, that is a direct result of speaking. You have to speak to get better at it. And you have to quitarte de la pena. You have to get rid of any shame. You have to remember there's no way to speak. There's no way to learn how to speak without sounding like an idiot in the beginning. That's inevitable. You can't like what a lot of people try to do, and I see it even with my students, they try to like protect their spoken Spanish until they understand a lot or until they have a large vocabulary. It sounds great, but again, I'll take this point from Jalen. It sounds great to be prepared to speak, but it's like trying to become a professional boxer by watching boxing highlights or learning technique. You actually have to get in there and do it. You can't learn it like that, in my opinion. So just start speaking. And I know that seems like generic, boring, useless advice, but that's the only way to do it. For those wanting a good podcast for listening, check out Espanolistos. I've heard of that, Thorplane. They speak clearly. Yeah. I used to watch them. Years ago. Espanolistos. Yeah, I used to watch them a lot. They speak clearly. They're interesting and pretty funny. Agreed. Bro, they kicked off that podcast with Helica. Oh, you saw it, Jalen? Yeah. And you can't understand unless they're speaking to you in a nice formal way. You're not gonna understand the average Mexican if you don't know Mexican slang. I'm sorry, you have to learn it. You have to just talk Spanish to improve. Exactly, free game, more free game you're giving out. Do you understand the double meaning matar el gusano in Mexican Spanish? JR, no. That's the one that I haven't come across. ¿Te gusta el chile? Sí, señor. Me preguntaron eso. Como si fuera estúpido, como así. No, broma. Have you dabbed in any of the AI chat programs like TalkPal AI? And if so, what's your opinion for beginners? Joel, again, educate me. I'm ignorant to. I'm familiar with AI, obviously, in AI chat programs, but those in particular and their use and purpose, not so much. Could you inform me a little bit, and I can tell you my opinion? I have not dabbled in them. What have you learned from your students in school learning English that you feel is applicable to adult language learners like ourselves? Anything that makes people successful and others no? Yes, Lavelle, these are great questions. Yes, I've learned a whole lot from teaching students. Number one, I've learned I used to get frustrated, right, when my iTalki tutors that were bilingual would not jump in and kind of save the situation with English. Like I should be like, can you just tell me what that means in English? Can you just tell me so I could, translate? And they would always say no, and they would just describe it for me. And I would never understand why they wouldn't do that, but now I see it. Not in all cases, but a lot of times when students know that you speak their native language, they resort to using their native language to try to get an understanding of something. Whereas a student that speaks Arabic as their native language, or Haitian Creole as their native language, or Japanese as their native language, they have no choice. We have no choice in that interaction but to try to fight through and use the English that they understand. And my attempts at simplifying my explanations to understand it. And so, long story short, I used to believe that, hey, it's a good idea for an adult learner to find a bilingual tutor, and sure, that's helpful in the beginning, but I don't know if it's ideal. I don't know if it's optimal, because in my personal anecdotal experience, students typically perform a lot better when you don't speak their native language, because you don't have a choice but to they don't have a choice but to grasp that English. And again, this could just be it may not be I may these may be false causal relationships or false correlations that I'm making, but it's just something I've observed. And then on top of that, anything else? The argument that kids learn a language faster, not necessarily true. It can be true for sure. Like it can be true for sure. I'm not going to use any identifying information or any specific students, but um, I have a couple of students from a Caribbean island where French and another language is spoken, and man, these kids pick up the language fast. Like not all of them. I'm just thinking about them in particular. They pick up the language extremely fast. Whereas I have others that have been there longer that are not picking it up as fast. They're still learning, but not as fast. And I've seen adults that have learned faster than some of the students that I'm talking about. And they obviously have not been in a country where the language is spoken, nor in an environment where they're literally getting comprehensible input, but input over and over again. So those are the two takeaways. I'm not sure if I answered your question properly. I'm getting behind on these comments. It's basically like training your ear, like you said. Videos are broken down from super beginner, intermediate. Oh, okay, got it. Thank you for that final point, because I'll talk about this in one of the videos that I have coming out next Sunday. But beginners in particular, always come to my channel and they're like, I've been on here for 43 minutes. Wow. But they always come onto my channel and they'll leave comments on videos that don't have subtitles. And they'll say stuff like, oh my gosh, this channel would be so great if this idiot knew that there's a beginning audience here and they need subtitles. And it's just like, pobrecito, tú no sabes, tú no lo sabes, está bien, ese berrinche, ¿no? ¿Cómo se dice? Berrinche, yeah. No. Sí, berrinche is a my goodness, I'm losing my Spanish. It's a tantrum, right? And so it gives me it puts me at ease knowing that even the expert, the guy at Dreaming Spanish, knows that it's beneficial not to have the subtitles. Liz, hola, vivo en Colombia. ¿Qué recomendaciones me puedes dar para aprender inglés? Liz, mis recomendaciones se tratan de una mezcla de cosas. Al inicio, perdón, diría que tú necesitas encontrar un libro que te pueda guiar en la gramática al inicio. Entonces, si el libro tiene capítulos sencillos, básicos, cortos, que cada día que hagas uno de esos ejercicios o un capítulo, ¿no? Al inicio, para que te acostumbres a la gramática de inglés. Mientras tanto, a la vez, mejor dicho, tú tienes que estar escuchando a inglés básico. Hay miles de podcasts, miles de recursos de personas hablando inglés de una forma lenta, tranquila, para que tú puedas empezar a entender, no entender, pero escuchar cómo el idioma suena, porque tienes que acostumbrarte a cuándo es que una palabra empieza y cuándo es que una palabra termina, cómo realmente pronuncian la R, cómo realmente pronuncian la TH, esos sonidos que se encuentran en todas partes del idioma. Es necesario que te acostumbres a esos sonidos. Mientras también haces eso, deberías estar, ¿cómo te explico? Leyendo cosas básicas para acumular un base en el vocabulario. Entonces, yo no soy fan de las tarjetas de memorización porque hace que el proceso sea aburrido y también hace que uno, o sea, que las palabras se le olvide a la persona. Entonces, tú necesitas encontrar, no sé, libros básicos, libros para principiantes, libros para niños y empezar a leer y traducir. ¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué va a pasar? Mientras tú estás leyendo y en tu tiempo libre escuchando, vas a escuchar las palabras que aprendiste mientras estudiabas haciendo los ejercicios en el libro de gramática y también el consumo de la lectura te va a ayudar también a memorizar palabras. Que sigas haciendo este proceso por como un mes, 2 meses y después que contrates a una persona o que encuentres una persona con quien puedes hablar con frecuencia para practicar hablar y te lo juro que en poco tiempo vas a notar un mejoramiento en tu inglés en cuanto a qué tanto entiendes y o sea, en muchos aspectos vas a ver que estás mejorando. Espero que te contesté bien. Will it be okay to do a review about your book on my channel? Please, Mike. Lee, I welcome it. And again, positive or negative comments are welcome. I'm not super sensitive about that. Question, bro. I've seen websites with almost like workbooks and stuff for free, but it's Spain Spanish. Are these resources for Mexican Spanish like that? Like online quizzes? Yeah, Shan, you can find them. You can find them for sure. I would not recommend you do the ones for Spain Spanish if you're not interested in that, but because it can be confusing. Even now, if someone started saying os or what else do they say? Well, like obviously vosotros, but yeah, just find them for Mexican Spanish. Instead of typing in Mexican Spanish, because that typically will tend to give you slang stuff, like super specific, just do Latin American Spanish. And then that should help you. Liz La Crespa donde vives. Oh, okay. 25 an hour for a Spanish class is wild, LMAO. Maybe for German or French, but Spanish. JR, I get your points, but you got to remember it's just an economic market. There are people that, for example, if I were retired and I just have an income, my home is paid off, I don't have expenses, why would I not spend $25, $100 a month? You know what I mean? When my net let's say I'm saving, it may be hard for some people to believe, but there are people saving $7,000, $8,000 a month. Spending $100 or $200 a month on Spanish classes isn't a problem. And plus, a lot of people associate high prices with high quality, and so that's why they continue to get so much business. On top of that, they're worth it. These tutors literally taught me the Spanish language, so I'm not saying they're not worth the $25 an hour. They're worth it. It's just at this point, I'm not going to spend $25 to have a conversation. Um, yeah, Mike, that's what happened to me a lot. Hello, problems with being a good listener, conversation holder. Yeah, Jalen. It happens to me. It just happens to me in general in life. Um, but in particular, it just doesn't make sense to have that happen during a class. Do you have Sandra's iTalki profile? I can find it really quick. Yeah, give me a second. Let me log into iTalki really quick and I'll send you her information. But yeah, any video that I've done with her has her channel and her iTalki profile on it, but I'll log into iTalki really quick and put that in there. Hopefully I don't get too behind on the comments. Sandra on my teachers list. Sandra. Okay, I'm gonna send you her. I'll put Sandra's information in the chat right now. There it is. Okay, so that's her profile. That's a good price. What's the longest you stay out the country, Peru or Colombia? Which one would you pick to live in for a month and why? Lafayette, great. I like these questions. What's the longest you stay out of the country? When I go, it's typically when I have a break. You guys know I'm a teacher, so if I have a break, it's normally a week or 2 weeks. So I stayed in Colombia maybe for like 4 days. I wish I would have stayed longer, but I stayed in Colombia for 4 days. But I came back on Christmas Eve in 2020, so I needed to come back to spend time with my family. Peru, I was there for 8 days, I think. I'm going to Costa Rica just for a weekend when I go in a few weeks, simply because of the time. I'm going with a friend, and when he was going, I wanted to go with him because again, I like to travel with someone, I like to know someone in the country that I'm traveling to. And so because those were the dates that he had off, I just decided to go that weekend. Um, but if I can work it out, like this summer, for example, Lafayette, and you maybe have some recommendations. This summer, I could literally spend 2 months. I literally could spend 2 whole months in another country. Like it would make perfect sense. I could. The dilemma is I need to know someone there. I'm not. That's not me. Like I'm not the person that can just go somewhere and just go out. I meet people when I travel, but I don't have the personality to go out and just meet some stranger and then I'm best buddies with them for a whole 2 months in another country. And so I would need to know someone. Like I'm going back to Peru. Let me slow down. Let me answer your question. The longest I've stayed out was like 8 days. Peru or Colombia, which would I pick to live in for a month? It wouldn't be based on the country themselves because I like both. It would be based on the amount of people that I know there. So right now, I actually know more people in Peru, to be honest. Like I have my friend Jalen, but he's American like I am in Colombia. I have another buddy, Dre, who I've interviewed on the channel, who's out there. I met some people through Jalen, and then yeah, and I have a couple of other buddies out there in Colombia, but all of my Colombian friends that I met learning Spanish that used to live in Colombia, they all live in the States now, believe it or not. Like I have like 6 Colombian friends that lived in Colombia when they taught me Spanish or when I was their language exchange partner or when I met them in Cartagena or whatever. But they've all come to the United States either to study, to work, or do something like that. And so right now, to answer your question, I probably pick Peru. Plus, I love hiking, and Peru it was maravilloso en cuanto al senderismo, en serio. So I pick Peru, but I like Colombia a lot. Um, Culture wise, I pick Colombia. Food wise, I pick Peru. It's just I don't know. Yeah, I have to learn. Yeah, I have to learn. You have to make mistakes. Yeah, Mike Lee, it's unavoidable. You can't learn it without it. It's like I don't know, wanting to learn to skateboard but never wanting to fall down. It's like wanting to play football and not get hit. It's inevitable. You want to get good at football, you have to get hit a couple of times. Do you read books in Spanish, Jr.? Yes, I do. Let me show you something, guys. Let me show you something really quick. So you guys, I'm sure have heard of the phrase, "Your eyes are bigger than your mouth." Well, that's the case with me in Spanish and reading books. I have this book on my list to read. I have this book on my list to read. I also have. This is not in Spanish. I also have. Please don't judge me. Please don't judge me. I have this book on my list to read. Once you read the title, you might judge me. Who cares? Don't judge me. I want to read this. Buddy, I met a guy at a Barnes and Nobles here in Metro Atlanta who recommended this book to me. Please don't judge me. Some of these are in English. I already read this book, The Alchemist, but I have this to read again. Jalen recommended me this book about there was a war against Puerto Ricans. I have this book to read. I also have this book to read. This is not a political statement at all. I just like to hear about his story traveling through South America during whatever time that was, the 40s, 50s, 60s, might even be the 30s. I also have this basic, just fun children's book to read that is not going to be a challenge at all. I just bought it at a cheap bookstore. And then this is like a practice test for one of these formal Delhi exams. Obviously, it's the A2 test. I'm way past an A2, I would assume, but I'm just using this as a litmus test for my Spanish ability. So, yeah, I still do read when I have the time. I just don't have a lot of time right now. I get out of grad school in a couple of months, and when I get out, I'll start reading again. I think real world experience is the best. And yes, talking to people in real life is best because you pick up the emotion and context of the situation. And when you feel that emotion again, you remember. Shan, I agree 100%. Thank you. You're welcome. I already learned Spanish to a fluent level. I'm trying to learn a third language, Tagalog, but it's so much harder. I know I can do it because I already learned Spanish in school, but it feels impossible. Or picks, I've found personally that I agree with you, but I found it harder for different reasons. Like learning Swahili was much easier. I can still tell you so much vocabulary in Swahili. I can still count. I can still say like ninataka kusafiri Kenya kwa sababu ninapenda sana. um, I can say, I can just tell you, I can just speak Swahili a little bit still, right? But what was harder was motivating myself. It wasn't learning the language itself. I was acquiring vocabulary much faster, and I there was tangible. I could sense that I was learning the language much faster. I could perceive it. It seemed like the same elements in my brain that helped me learn Spanish vocabulary faster allow me to learn allowed me to learn Swahili much faster. And I even noticed that now with my students. I have a bunch of students that speak French. And guys, I could tell you how to say head in French, thought, um, a lot, beaucoup, more, plus. Like I can, je ne comprends pas. I know my accent is horrible, but I'm picking up French a little bit just from teaching them, and I think that's because whatever functions in our brain help us learn the second language make the third language easier. But again, the hardest part for me is motivation. Be safe out there, Mike. Thank you, Mike Lee. Thank you. When you say out there, you're referring to Costa Rica or Colombia. I don't take safety for granted in any place, but according to what I'm thinking in Spanish, según lo que tengo entendido. Like, but from my understanding, it would be the way to say that in English. I should be fine. Again, I don't take anything for granted. I could be in Naples, Florida, and something happen. Like La Crespa. Do you plan to learn another language? I've had a few people tell me French would be a logical choice after learning Spanish. Uh, Gadoli, I do not right now. French is cool, but it just doesn't appeal to me like maybe Japanese or Swahili do. But like I was mentioning earlier, my desire to learn those languages has not surpassed um, how inconvenient it would be to learn them and the time investment required and energy required. So I don't plan on learning those right now. I recommend before we go to Cali, before Tempo leaves. Lafayette, yes. Guys, can I tell you the truth? I'm going to give you all a spoiler here, those of you that have come, okay? Do you plan on learning another language? I recommend to go to Cali. Lafayette, I really want to go to Cali, okay? I'm going to tell you in Spanish, and I'll tell you, it really has nothing to do with Cali, okay? Les voy a contar una historia que vas a... Lafayette, tell me, do you want this? It doesn't matter. I'll just say it. I'll say it in English. I'll tell the story in English, okay? I'm going to tell you guys two quick stories, and it's one of the reasons why I'm very hesitant to travel. It's almost traumatic, okay? And so here's the real deal, okay? A couple of like last year, I was in a bad neighborhood in Atlanta, and the only reason I was in that neighborhood is because I had to take someone to Grady Hospital, which is downtown, smack dab in the middle of the city. So I had to stop somewhere that was near there that wasn't very safe. I was sitting in the back of a parking lot, and two cars are driving through this parking lot, and I hear the car in the back honking. Okay, this is gonna come out in one of my videos, but it's in Spanish. The car honking. I'm getting to a point. I'm telling the story for a reason. It's why I'm so hesitant to travel right now, and it's why I have doubts about traveling all the time. It's irrational, it's illogical, but it's physiological at the same time. So I'm in the back of the parking lot in this bad neighborhood. I'm in the back of the parking lot on purpose to stay away from the nonsense. Two cars are driving through the parking lot. There's a white car in front, a silver car in the back. Okay, I might be having the colors confused, but white car in the front, silver car in the back. The silver car in the back is honking their horn at the white car. Okay, this is in a very bad neighborhood in Atlanta. Okay, you might have seen YouTube videos or movies about this neighborhood. If you know, you know. Okay, and the white car decides for some reason to come to the back of the parking lot where I'm parked, come behind me, and then park right in front of me. The silver car, who was honking aggressively at the white car, follows that car but does not go all the way around me and stops right behind me. Okay, hopefully this story is making sense. I'm going to get to y'all's comments. This all has to do with why I'm hesitant to travel for some reason. I don't know. The driver in the silver car unfortunately pulls out a gun and points the gun at the white car. Okay, that's literally in front of me. Well, I look back and I see a gun pointed at me with the intent to shoot at the car in front of me. So at this point, I'm thinking my life's over. Okay, I'm an idiot for even being over here, for even stopping over here. And so I don't deserve that. But this is where these accidents happen. Stuff like this happens when you're in this type of environment. And so, long story short, he did not shoot. But when I saw this and I realized, okay, he didn't shoot, I tried to back up. When I tried to back up, obviously this car is behind me, and I almost hit this guy's car. He proceeds to point his gun at me, say a lot of curse words that are very specific to the Atlanta region, threaten to kill me, and all this kind of stuff. So in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I even over here? Okay. that traumatized me a little bit. I have another story. I don't want to get into it. I want this to be a positive, happy live stream. But long story short, that Lafayette has traumatized me to be careful about donde me meto, ¿no? Entonces, a veces tengo muchas ganas de ir a cualquier lugar, and this has nothing to do with Colombia in particular. I feel the same way about certain areas in Los Angeles, certain areas in my own city that I will never go to anymore after these instances. And so, I want to go to Cali so bad. But what I'm fighting with psychologically is also just the time, because I don't have time. I don't have time off after this week. I have to take off in May. Those days are considered critical days. But yeah, hopefully I'm not rambling too much. You get my logic there. It's illogical. It's extremely illogical, but it's physiological at the same time. If that makes any sense. I was in Mexico City and everyone told me to get the Juan Rufo books. I definitely recommend that author, as I was told. It's like the core Mexican literature. Is that what I have here? No, I don't have that, but I'll check him out. That sounds great. If everybody in Mexico is recommending him, I definitely would check that out. I just picked up Rich Dad Poor Dad in Spanish. Great read, great read. You got some Chicano, you got some Chicano lit in there. Okay, I missed that one, Jr. Explain that one for a little better for me. Nice, congrats with grad school. Thank you, Mike Lee. Thank you. I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm actually going to go back afterwards, but then after that, I might be done. I might get my doctorate. I don't know. When you read those books, do you read them in silence or do you read them with the audio books in Spanish? JR, I never have and don't plan on reading these with audio books. I just read them out loud, actually, to practice pronunciation. Not now, not anymore. I pronounce Spanish fairly well, but before I would read them out loud. Yes, it helped me a lot with pronunciation. Alice La Crespa, si vieras más cerca te enseñaría, pero estoy en Cali. Jalen, también tú puedes enseñarle, no virtualmente, o sea, virtual. Entonces, hágale pues. Yeah, the motivation is the biggest thing. I know more about how to learn a language, but motivation is so tough, especially when there's not as many native speakers in the language as Spanish. Yeah, Orpix, that's something we take for granted living in the United States. And it's something that I've mentioned to a lot of people that learn Spanish in other countries. To me, right, if I lived in Poland, like, I can't imagine how tough it would be to learn Spanish out there, especially if you have no desire to travel or live in another country. Like, learning Spanish in Poland would be extremely difficult for me. Learning Spanish if I lived in Vietnam would be extremely tough for me. But I get comments from people in all those countries saying, oh my gosh, I love learning Spanish and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, that would be tough for me. Not now, but what kept me motivated learning Spanish was the first day after learning agua de coco, I went to Publix. I think I went to Kroger actually, and saw that in Spanish. You know what I mean? On the rack, I guess you would call it, on the shelf. Alexandra, hola Mike, ¿tienes planes para un grupo de conversación en lenta para tus seguidores? Me gusta ir a plaza, fiestas, restaurantes en Before Highway, La Vaquita, Mercado de Pulgas y supermercados de Mariera. Alexandra, sí, también yo voy allá mucho. La verdad, yo estaba en la plaza de fiesta hace unos días. Yo voy con frecuencia. La verdad es que este verano yo tengo planeado hacer cosas así, pero literal yo dejé de hacer esas cosas por falta de tiempo. Estaba estudiando, también daba clases de matemática, pero ahora voy a dejar de dar tantas. Entonces, sí, me encantaría. De hecho, allá es donde conocí muchos amigos también hispanoparlantes que son de aquí, o pues no, que no son de aquí, pero que vinieron a las reuniones que tenía. Entonces, ese es el plan. Sí, me gustaría. And I would do them, Alexandria, where we used to do them was at the Norcross Public Library. It's like a nice central point for people coming from all across the city. And so we used to do them there. And I definitely plan to do them again. It's just a matter of time. But I have a lot of time in the summer. And right now I tutor on the weekends as well. And again, this was also that I don't like loans. I don't like debt. And so I just was doing this to pay off my graduate school and save up money for my next program. Now that I have everything prepared for that, I'm not tutoring on the weekends. And so I have my weekends free to start doing stuff like that again. I used to love doing those. I used to look forward to waking up on Saturday morning and writing the questions out for everybody and seeing everybody practice their Spanish. It was fun. Grady Hospital is straight the worst hospital in the country. Jalen, ¿cómo sabes de Grady Hospital? Si eres de Texas, ¿cómo es que sabes? Grady Hospital is terrible, Alexandra. Again, the care there is not that bad, but at least from de lo que tengo entendido, no sé. But the area, yeah, is not the best. If I'm dying, I would rather you try to Google how to do the procedure to save me than take me. No sé, Jalen, no sé, no sé. ¿Cómo sabes de Grady Hospital? Gotta come to Puerto Rico. Carlito, yo he ido, me encanta, me encantó, la verdad. Yo tengo planeado volver, pero me gustaría alejarme de la ciudad de San Juan, me gustaría conocer otras partes, pero sí, me encantaría ir. ¿Eres de allá? Yes, JR, this was in Atlanta, yep. Quick important facts. People go to die at Grady. Ashley, puede ser, pero Ashley, I wasn't even at the hospital, okay? I was on the west side in a certain neighborhood that I should not have been, and that happened there, okay? Then D to the Dominican Republic. Carlito, yo quiero ir a Punta Cana, pero hay cosas que veo de allá que no me gustan. ¿Y qué quiere decir? Que las ciudades donde hay tanto turismo usualmente resultan en vibras que a mí no me gusta, ¿no? Entonces es por eso que no he ido. Y si fuera allá, me gustaría conocer un pueblo, a un pueblo. Carrito, what part of Puerto Rico are you in? I'll be back eventually. That's my second home. Sí, Jalen es boricua, adoptado. Um, was this incident near 20 or 285? MLB was on the west side. Got to hit the Dominican Republic. Maybe 15 minutes from Grady. Southwest, maybe like 15. Not even that far. Maybe 5-10 minutes from Grady without traffic. Got to hit the Dominican Republic, quick tempo in Cabo Rojo. I don't know. I don't know Tempa as well as you've been, but I think he would provide guidance and advice to stay safe out in Cali. Agreed, Lafayette. Yo no dudo en Jalen. Yo no dudo en nadie. Yo dudo en los malos. Let me speak in English because I don't doubt Jalen's perception of the safety or anything like that. It's not that. It's literally an illogical fear. It's like if you've ever I don't know, like if you've ever been in a car accident where somebody rear-ended you and then you see somebody, you're at a stoplight, let's say 2 weeks ago or 6 months ago, even you were in a car accident where you almost lost your life, right? And in the car accident, a big truck rear-ended you. Well, you might at that point be paranoid when you see a truck that's coming at a normal speed to you, right? At a stoplight, you're sitting there at a stoplight and a truck is coming to a stop behind you. It's just visceral to feel a certain way about your safety in that instance, and that's essentially what's happening with me with traveling. Even Costa Rica, like I'm super excited to go to Costa Rica, but like I'm going to be very much aware of my safety because of that incident. And it shouldn't be that way. I'm aware, and as the days progress, it goes away. Um, but yeah, it's not even traumatic. Like I've had experiences like that. Again, near death experiences. It's just like in my head, I kind of beat myself up. Like, why am I even sitting in this parking lot? Like, why did I put myself in this situation? Not that I did. It was a random incident, but I'm just saying. Yo no sé, lo trago, la tierra es chicano, mexicano. Ya entendí, JR. Okay, ahora entiendo. Alexandria, con mucho gusto. I think you was in, exactly, MLB, Southwest. Were you using language transfer at the start of your Spanish learning journey? No, Ryzen. Not sure if that was even available. Not sure if that was available, but I wasn't using it. No. Explain to me what that is. I've heard of that, but I'm not sure. Cabo Rojo, no way. Gringolandia, I don't like going where a tour. Sorry, exactly, Jalen, exactly. ¿Para qué yo voy a pagar para viajar si... ¿Para qué yo voy a... Perdón, estoy leyendo los comentarios, pero ¿para qué ¿para qué pagaría para viajar si voy a estar rodeado de gringos? No tiene mucho sentido para mí. ¿Te gustaría Santo Domingo, Mike? Sí, Carlito, la verdad. ¿Eres de allá? ¿Eres de allá? ¿O qué? Porque sí, me encantaría, la verdad. Pero tengo que tener una razón para ir, ¿no? Ir de paseo para mí no me fascina. Si tuviera alguien allí que me pudiera guiar, que me podría, perdón, guiar, me encantaría. Pero ir solo para nada más pedir comida y, o sea, saludar a la gente mientras veo los edificios, no. Yo puedo abrir una pantalla y ver un 4K walk de Santo Domingo si es lo que voy a hacer. Si yo voy a ir y alguien me va a acompañar y me va a enseñar o me va a mostrar algo oculto en la cultura, sí, iría. Pero si no, prefiero ir a un lugar donde conozco a alguien. Es puro los gringos están en Isla Verde. Sí, me encantaría. Andre, what medium helped you to fluency the most? Reading, talking. Andrew, I can't say one in particular. I'll give you percentages on what I think was the most fruitful, but they all are necessary. Reading to me was the most fruitful, followed by speaking. Excuse me. No. Follow me. Sorry. Reading, number one. Listening, number two. Speaking, number three. Writing, number four. Again, reading, number one, because you learn grammar and vocabulary and how the language should be structured. So, reading, number one. Listening, number two. Listening is the glue of the language learning process. That's my argument. So, listening, excuse me. I'm sorry, guys. Reading, listening, speaking, writing. You should go to Limón. Carrito, me encantaría, pero yo no creo que voy a tener tiempo para conocer a Limón. I'm talking to you in Spanish. Sorry. I don't think I'll have time to go there. I'll be there for a weekend. I would never go to Compton, Cali, or Stockton, Cali. Is Stockton that bad? Is Compton even that bad nowadays? I don't know. I'm uneducated. I've been to LA though. I was in Inglewood, not knowing it, and I was in a couple of other areas. Rose said it's not traumatic. It's not traumatic. Yeah. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to make it sound like a soap opera. You know what I mean? People have experienced things that are worse than that, but it was tough. It was tough. Losing motivation to continue learning a language, I feel, is very common. One thing that helps me is going back to why I started in the first place. Also, tracking your progress, I'd say, helps a lot as well. Agreed, Jacoby. That motivation is necessary. It's super necessary. And if it's not there, al final uno se pregunta, ¿para qué? O sea, ¿para qué estoy aprendiendo esto? ¿Para qué me estoy esforzando tanto? ¿Para qué? Para poder decir tokonimaska. Jacoby, you know that word, right? That phrase, right? Tokonimaska. It's basically the magic Spanish book, but it's also an audio version people can listen to. Okay. Rising, I'll have to check it out. Or if you could let me know your opinion. How long do you recommend listening to Spanish before trying to speak it? Glenn, give yourself 2 months, 3 months, and then start speaking. How long do you recommend listening to Spanish before trying? Oh, I just read that. I bought your book from Amazon. Carlito, muchas gracias. Can you please tell Carlito, your name? When I see your name, my brain automatically wants to respond to you in Spanish. Si prefieres que te hable en español, por favor, dime. Si prefieres que te hable en español o inglés, no sé. Dime cuál idioma prefieres. But thank you, and please let me know your honest opinion. I good and bad. I like to hear some bad as well. I want to hear some ways that it can be improved. Damaine, ¿qué más, hermano? Damaine, tú siempre estás en Colombia, pero de una manera oculta, me parece, ¿no? Nadie nunca sabe dónde estás allá. O sea, a veces estás en un pueblito bailando con los viejos allá o haciendo lo que sea. Entonces, saludos amigos, saludos. Tú me inspiraste mucho también. No sé si nunca te he dicho, pero tú me inspiraste mucho para aprender español. Yo me acuerdo que en unos videos tú saliste con Ricky de Bilingüe Blogs, grabando videos con él. Me acuerdo también unos videos que hiciste que grabaste con tu playera colombiana. Me inspiraste, me inspiraste mucho, la verdad. No sé si te dije antes, pero en serio. Do you still speak to natives in Atlanta? Mike, all the time, yeah. Mike, I'm not sure. You don't have to tell me specifically where you are, but I'll name some areas. And I don't only go to these areas to speak Spanish, but I'm just saying if I'm in those areas, I'll speak. Anytime I'm in South Gwinnett County in general, Norcross, all those little areas over there, Buford Highway, I'm speaking Spanish. To be honest, though, I speak it over there, but I speak it less than I do in other areas, because in other areas it's a little bit less expected for you to understand and speak Spanish. So, for example, if I'm in I don't really talk much if I'm out in Sandy Springs, but I'm just saying, yes, I speak to natives a lot in Metro Atlanta. Anywhere, like I have un reto personal, un desafío personal, a personal challenge, and it's if I hear someone that's near me, I don't go out of the way to do this, but if I hear someone that's near me that's speaking Spanish, I always speak to them in Spanish. Like I just ask them a basic question. A couple of days ago, I was in Publix, and I heard like a family. The girl was maybe like 22, and her parents were maybe in their 50s, and I heard them speaking in Spanish. I heard that Colombian accent, y de inmediato, ¿ustedes de dónde son? ¿Son colombianos? No. I didn't say that. I didn't ask them. I did not ask them. This is what I said. I asked them, but I knew they were Colombian, so I asked them. I was like, ¿Ustedes son colombianos? Sí, señor, por supuesto. ¿Cómo sabías? Me dijeron. And then we started talking. And then, I started telling them that I've been to Bogotá. What's interesting is they told me, and I'll say it in Spanish, les pregunté como, ¿cuándo es la última vez que fueron a Colombia? Y me dijeron como, uff, hace, no sé, 20 años. Y les pregunté por qué. No, no tenemos ganas de volver ahora. Ahora, 20 años es bastante tiempo, ¿no? Pero sí, para responderte, to respond to your question, Mike, yes, always, siempre. Puedo hablar ambos manos. Ok, bien, Carlito, ok. Esa es la verdad. Sí, Damaine, me inspiraste mucho, la verdad. La verdad, sí, en serio. I started to speak out here. Damaine, una pregunta. ¿Cómo estás? No quiero revelar, digamos, tu ubicación, pero ¿cómo está la situación en Medellín ahora? Porque, chicos, yo tengo un video que va a salir. Hace unos días mi amigo Carlos Crazy, ¿por qué dije crazy de esa forma? Carlos Crazy me visitó. Él y su hijastro me visitaron. Entonces me invitaron a Medellín porque él y su familia son de allá, tienen casa allá. Entonces me invitaron. Pero de nuevo, hablando del miedo que tengo por alguna razón, y no se trata de Colombia en particular, se trata de otros barrios aquí en Atlanta. Tengo miedo, pues, por las noticias, por lo que veo. Entonces, ¿me puedes decir cómo está la situación allá? ¿Está caliente o está normal para ti? No sé si estás en Medellín. I started to speak out here, and I have a lot of great reactions from natives out here. Yeah, agreed, Mike. Agreed. The biggest compliment, and again, they could be putting extras on it, but the biggest compliment is, ¿usted de dónde es? Cuando escucho eso es como, "Ah, gracias. Un cumplido, qué cumplido. ¿Usted de dónde es? Con that head nod, como, ¿usted de dónde es? Así. Oh, sí, tú y Ricky son mis hermanos. Muchas gracias, Damaine, muchísimas gracias. Me gusta que tu libro va directo al grano y no habla por ahí, demasiados temas, va directo a lo que necesitamos saber. Eso era la esperanza mientras escribía el libro. Entonces, muchísimas gracias, Carlito. Let's on Spanish TV, salud. Never seen you before, but Mike speaks highly of you, so you must be cool. Él es buena vibra, Jalen, sí. Para mí, él es uno de esos chicos que empezó en YouTube antes de que esta ola de hermosas que se volvieron virales por haber aprendido español empezó. Esta etapa en YouTube, él estaba allí antes, o sea, había aprendido español antes y tenía una presencia en línea en YouTube antes. Estoy hablando de como 2000, no sé, o sea, 18 hasta, porque, no sé, creo que one day I think I was watching just videos. I can't even remember, but I know I even saw him before I started learning Spanish, honestly. Jacoby, Mochira, of course, referring to what you said in Japanese. Okay, okay, Jacoby, there we go. Mochiro. All I know in Japanese is dokorimasu ka, or um, ki is tree, right? Ki is tree. What else? Mm, more Japanese that I know. I can't remember. Watashi wa Michael. I'm Michael. Watashi wa anata wa you are. So I know a little bit of Japanese. I forgot how to say a little in Japanese, but in Swahili you say kidogo. Kidogo. I know a little. Kidogo. 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 Me gusta que tu libro va directo. Okay. Oh yeah, West Atlanta is crazy. When I first moved to Atlanta, someone in that area tried to sell me a house for $1,000. After I did some background check with the area, I see why. Yeah. Yeah, and it's not to say that everywhere over there is bad. It's just I shouldn't have been in Southwest Atlanta at that time. It's just wrong place, wrong time. $1,000 they were selling you a bundle. My brain overheats as I try to keep up with Mike speaking Spanish. Thorpeland es una parte del proceso. Vas a seguir mejorando. Carlito, why did you cut your hair, Mike? Carlito, you weren't here at the beginning of the stream, right? So I'm going to you see the name Quick Temper in there? You see that name, Quick Temper? Yeah, he is going to get the blame for this. I'm being sarcastic, but he's going to get the blame for this because he asked me one day. I watch his live streams. You guys should join his live streams as well. He talks about Spanish language learning. He's living in Cali, Colombia. We talk about a lot of different things on his stream. They're like little parties, little virtual discussion parties. I don't know if that sounded weird or corny, but it's they're interesting lives, is what I'm saying. And one day I was listening, and I think he might have said like, why isn't anyone asking any questions? And I was telling him like I'm cutting my hair, and he was shocked. He's like, wow, you've been cutting your hair for so long. You ever messed yourself up? And at that time, this may have been a month ago, 2 months ago, I never messed myself up in 9 years. I never messed my hair up in 9 years. Um, Ironically, the day that I said that, I cut myself a little small bald spot on the side, but nothing. It wasn't bad. Like I was able to shape it up and fix it, so it was fine. I was like, "Ooh, that was tough." Today, I was just cutting it down some, like because my hair was getting too long. It was taking me too long to get ready in the morning, so I was cutting it down some, and the guard fell off. And so like it cut a little too low, and I cut it further down, and then I was cutting again, and the guard fell off again. Even when I had to cut it down this low, you guys can't see it, but I cut a little bald spot here. I cut it this low to stop you from seeing it. But in the back, I can't show you right now, but in the back, it looks like I have a scar, but it's actually where the guard fell off. So it won't take long. In about a month and a half, my hair will be back to a little mini fro. I'll just let it grow again. I was kind of tired of it anyway. I did think I liked the look of it when it was longer, but hey, it'll grow back. Thank you, Carlito. Lo aprecio mucho. El Pionero. Um, do you think language learning in the US is more popular than before? Am I living in a bubble of my own creation? LaVale, I was asking Jalen that the other day. I think it's a mix of both. I think it's a mix of both. I think uh, Latin culture and music is a lot more popular nowadays. Like I know people that don't speak any Spanish that can recite Bad Bunny lyrics. Even when I wasn't in ESOL teaching, I was just teaching regular math. I would hear students playing Bad Bunny. Like if you ask anybody under the age of 25, typically they know who Bad Bunny is. They know Carol G. They know Anuel. They know these names. They know Osuna. Most of them, not all, but a lot of people know them. Whereas before, I think if you ask someone about Latin music or Spanish speaking music, they would have known Daddy Yankee, and that might have been it. And so I think it's a little bit more popular. I don't know if language learning in itself is more popular, but the Spanish language and Hispanic and Latin cultures are definitely more popular. Plus, the demographics of the country are changing, and so that's influencing it as well. I think it's I think it's a bubble of our own creation, and I think it's getting a little bit more popular. But I don't think it's that much more popular than it was before. As long as it's not the Diddy parties, Carlito, I was unaware of. I don't really keep up with celebrities like that, so I was unaware of what was going on with that until I was informed on that the other day. I'm still not super informed, but crazy stuff from what I've heard. Es una situación muy tranquilo. Sí, estoy en Medellín y Laureles, pero no hay grandes programas. Las medias de comunicación están sobre exagerando. Ok, muchas gracias, Damaine. También quiero saber, o sea, de tu perspectiva, ¿la situación ha cambiado allá en general o todavía es normal? Porque como te dije, no, Carlos Crazy me invitó allá y me gustaría ir a conocer, ir a pasear, especialmente si tu familia me van a hostear, si es una palabra en español, no es una palabra, pero if they're going to host me, me encantaría ir. Pero ¿cómo está la situación para extranjeros en particular, gringos? Would you like to learn any Asian languages? Jarrell, I would love to learn Japanese. But again, nande. Why? Because I like the way it sounds. I have some students that speak Japanese, and whenever they speak, it's like music to my ears. I'm not super big into anime, but I wouldn't be opposed to getting into it. And that could, I just need a language that where you have access to a lot of different content. One issue that I found with Swahili was that there wasn't a lot of easily like information or sorry content that was found easily. Like you had to do a lot of digging to find Kenyan Swahili movies or programs or anything. Whereas with Japanese, it's the complete opposite. It's easy to find. Like you just go on Netflix. Same thing with Spanish. So me encantaría aprender el japonés, pero sería muy difícil para mí ahora. How's baseline for learning? Jacoby, please don't even no jokes right now. I'm kind of hurt. I had to cut off my hair. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. How's baseline for learning? I haven't used it, James. I've heard people say it's great, but I've also seen that they pay a lot of people to promote it, and so I don't know how legitimate those reviews are. But I heard it's decent. I heard it's. I'm not gonna say decent. I've heard it's good. Jacoby, yeah, same. I'd never made a mistake for like 9 years, 9 years, 9 years, saving a lot of money, no problem. Jacoby, I'll say this: when I go to school tomorrow or work tomorrow, but I work at a school, those kids are going to be on me. You're bald. Oh my gosh, you're bald. It's fine. I'm a grown man. It doesn't bother me. Plus my hair will grow back. And then I'll just say, hey, be careful. You're gonna get some bad karma if you make bald jokes. Now you're a kid now, but don't not that being bald is bad. I'm just saying it's something that kids don't want to be. Um, I've used Baseline for going on 3 years, and I feel the value is unmatched if you're serious about learning. Explain to me, and I want to pronounce your name properly, Lavale. Explain to me, explain to me what Baseline is. Like a lot of these programs, I don't know. I'm not familiar with them. I'm actually using Baseline right now. What is it like? What does it have, Jr? I go to a Dominican barber to cut my hair. He also helps me with Spanish. That's cool. That would be cool. That would be a cool experience. I watch 4K barbershop videos in different countries and like Turkey and again, weird. I don't watch them religiously, but I've seen some. I've seen some in the Dominican Republic, and the Dominican barbers are very talented. Were you in the Baseline ad? No, Jr. I've never had an ad on my channel. I get requests for them a lot. You guys can tell me though. I kind of think that they would dilute my channel. Again, guys, I'm not on YouTube for any reason other than to help you guys. I'm serious. Like, and let me say this carefully. If tomorrow, like, I'm not trying to base my life off of my YouTube channel. So if tomorrow something happened and they were like, oh, YouTube, when I say they were like, yeah, you can't have a channel anymore. What would hurt me more, not hurt me, but what would upset me more is just like, wow, all those people that I was helping learn Spanish and motivating to learn Spanish, now they don't have access to that content anymore. It's unfortunate, but it wouldn't be the end of my world. Like I'm not um, basing everything on YouTube. So I say that to say I don't want to compromise that authenticity on my channel by coming to you guys saying, "Hey, I I've used this program for 30 days and I think it can help you a lot." Like I'm not using any more programs, so I wouldn't feel comfortable recommending something to you that I haven't used. I get those requests all the time though, all the time. Mike, I want you as my Spanish teacher. Freddie, and in the summer, I'm going to start offering Spanish classes. I'm a man of my words. So I'm gonna say I'm most likely going to start them. And so if I do that, just shoot me an email. I'm very, very bad with checking my email, but I plan on starting with those classes in the summer. I've been using Baseline for 4 months, and I think it's okay. Some teachers are better than others. Okay, so Baseline is like iTalki. Okay, got it. No es normal. Lo que pasa es que hay muchos extranjeros quienes están involucrándose en drogas, actividades ilegales y mujeres peligrosas. Si no está involucrándose en el bajo mundo, está bien. Me encanta escuchar eso, me da risa, me hace sonreír, porque me encantaría visitar, pero obviamente no voy a viajar por esos motivos, no me interesan esas cosas, pero muchas gracias por clarificar la situación allá. You started learning Spanish a little over 4 years ago, right? Yeah, Michelle, 4 years and 4 months, 3 months ago. All right, thanks. I'll give it a try. I just want to say that I've watched your videos and they're really good. I think it's really impressive that you have learned Spanish in the time that you have. I've been learning for 2 years. It's hard. Brody, it definitely is, but you can definitely learn it. You can definitely learn it. What's most important is consistency, and that doesn't mean a long time each day, but 30 minutes to an hour each day, you'll learn the language. Me and him going to do a barbershop video later on this year, Mike Lee. Mike says, give me a Dominican barbershop that you recommend, and we'll do that once my hair grows a little bit. Because right now, estoy calvo, qué pena. Los niños se van a reír de mí, se van a burlar de mí mañana, ya lo sé, pero está bien. Y ya sé también muchas personas van a decirme como, te veías mejor con pelo, ¿por qué te cortaste el pelo? ¿Por qué? No, porque mientras estaba cortándome, yo me corté un calvado, me enseñaron a bald spot por accidente. Lavelle. Okay, gotcha, Lavelle. It's essentially like iTalki, except you get unlimited one-on-one Spanish classes that are either guided classes, conversation, daily prep, or whatever, 150 a month. Okay, that's an interesting concept. Very interesting concept. Very interesting concept. Okay, I mean, I can see the benefit in that for sure. Do you have any recommended easy Spanish readers that are not boring? Have you thought about writing a Spanish readers? Glenn, good question. Very good question. I've not considered it because there's so many out there. When you say that are not boring, are you specifically saying aligning to your interests? Because there are a lot, and there's a guy, like I said, I met him at Barnes and Noble or Nobles, I'm not sure, but he learned Spanish when he was younger as well. He's maybe like in his 50s, and he was telling me that he was just showing me these fables, like these fables that are commonly used in Spanish speaking countries, like our versions of Cat in the Hat and Dr. Seuss and stuff like that, that are super common that have just moral lessons in them. And he was recommending me those books because they're easy readers. Even at my level, he was just saying it might be interesting just to see those stories. And so, if I can get the name of those, I can post those in the community tab. What are your rates for Spanish lessons? Spanish lessons, Minda. I haven't considered rates. Just for reference, I tutor math and I tutor about for about $35 to $40 an hour. It would be maybe a little less than that, simply because I would be taking away time from tutoring math to tutor Spanish. I don't want to exclude anyone, but yeah. But basically, you can take as many classes as you want. Some days I take like 4 hours of classes, sometimes five, and I pay the same price. Yeah, that's a good concept. They're also using what I think is the gym model of having people pay for a service that they're not going to use. And so I'd imagine language learning is similar to the gym, where there's a lot of tailing off turnover. I'm not sure the term for that, where people purchase it but they don't actually utilize the service. And so, because in my head I'm like, whoa, that's inexpensive. I mean, 150 for all those classes, unlimited classes. But I'm assuming a lot of people don't take advantage of it. I got your book up Amazon, Freddie. I appreciate that. If you can give me some honest feedback, what you liked and what you disliked. James, I used Baseline. I used to use Baseline for a few months, but then they raised the price, so I switched back to iTalki. But it was nice being able to hop into a class at any time. Okay, yeah. Depends on how much you're using it. You know what I mean. 150 is a little no es tan económico, but at the same time, think about it. Depending on, yeah, it's expensive compared to iTalki. It is. You have a favorite accent, Michael B? Is my favorite accent. I'm thinking regions of Colombia. Um, I like the coastal accents of Colombia. I also like the Peruvian accent, like the accent from. They have different accents in Peru, but I'll just put that as an umbrella term. I like the Peruvian accent. I also like the Dominican accent also. Jalen, I'll be on here for until you get off, for at least until 9. 9 for you will be 10 for me. Yeah, I'll be off by then, Jalen, for sure. Um, I'll be off, yeah, within the next 30 minutes. Definitely, I'll be off by then. On Baselang, I do about 10 hours of classes a week. And while it takes time to find someone you click with, all of my teachers are like my friends now. That's the beautiful thing about learning Spanish. There's so many times, and you guys are gonna see it. You guys are gonna see the video. Carlos crazy, and some of you know that, and some of you don't. He came to my house the other day, and in my head, I'm like, this Colombian man that grew up in Quibdó, Choco, me growing up in the suburbs of Metro Atlanta, right? We're sitting out on the porch talking about life. And the only reason I know him, the only reason he knows me is because I learned this language. Like, it's crazy. Even I was on the phone with my tutor, Sharon. Some of you have seen that video. I was on the phone with her and we were talking about her trip to Los Angeles and all this other stuff. And in my head, I'm like, Sharon, it's crazy. Like, literally, I know you. And we've been friends for 4 years now, simply because I decided to learn this language. Like, I've been to your country, I've met your parents. My mom asks about you all the time. And we have nothing, like, we weren't supposed to know each other. 100 years ago, or maybe not 100 years ago. Yeah, maybe 300 years ago, our great 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 grandparents, nuestros bisabuelos, wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet each other. Like, it's insane the time we live in, where just you have access to a bunch of rocks and minerals, which is what these devices are, and you can meet someone from across the country. I mean, across the world. It's insane. I'm about to postpone. Okay, I read that already. Do you make good money with your social media content? Menda, not really, but I don't do it for money. Good money in what sense? If you want specifics, I can give you that. Just let me know. I can give you roundabout numbers, but good money, I can not good money. No, no, no. But I mean, I'm thankful, but yeah, it's not good money at all. but it's I'm thankful. Thanks. I really want to learn Spanish, but I have the Dominican accent. James, if you want to do that, and I had to learn this from a person someone I did an interview with. If that's the case, James, only consume Dominican Spanish, only listen to Dominican Spanish. And I know that's counterintuitive. It's like, well, I need to be able to understand everyone. If you want the accent, you need to do that. And I hope you haven't started learning Spanish already, because if you have, it'll be tough, in my opinion. I'm not an expert, but I'm just saying, in my opinion, it will be tough, because the people that I've seen that have the best accents, they started out consuming Spanish from one specific region, and they train their ear and thereby indirectly their mouth and their tongue to pronounce the words from that specific accent. It's a lot harder if you expose yourself to all forms of Spanish and then on the back end try to say, all right, I'm going to try to sound like this. In my opinion, it's not equivalent. I'm just making an analogy. Again, someone could poke holes in this argument, but that's like me right now having the accent that I have, and then me falling in love with Louisiana, and then me trying to speak like I'm from New Orleans, or me falling in love with Canada and me trying to speak like I'm from Canada. It could work. It could work. I could get close, but it's going to always sound like somebody acting like they have that accent versus someone who naturally speaks that way. And so I would recommend you do what Uju did. If you've seen the video that I did with Uju, who speaks like she's Colombian, I would just consume content from the Dominican Republic only. When's the moment that you realize you were fluid in Spanish? After like 3 years, where I stopped having to think. I'm going to speak to you in Spanish, and I'm not thinking about, like, there's no English in my brain. Ahora te estoy hablando en español, mira, qué casualidad. Estoy hablándote en español y ni siquiera el inglés está en mi mente. No estoy traduciendo para nada. El idioma está fluyendo, o sea, me está saliendo. No tengo que traducir para nada. Entonces, yo diría que uno realmente habla con fluidez cuando pueda hacer eso. I'm not thinking MLB property. I'm not thinking about the subjunctive. I'm not thinking about, do I need to change this verb? Do I need to, is this la or el? And even if I make a mistake with el or la, the article, our brain automatically catches the mistake. And it does that for their native speakers, do the same thing. Just when they're flowing, they're speaking, they may say the wrong article, but they automatically correct themselves. Before I speak, I'm not thinking, is this word masculine? Is this word feminine? Does this word have, I'm not thinking that. Do I need to change this to the subjunctive? Do I need to use the past subjunctive? I'm not. It's just flowing. Like, it's just coming from my brain, and I'm just speaking the same way I'm speaking in English. It's passive. And when speaking the language becomes a passive process, where you're not esforzándote, where you're not forcing yourself or exerting effort to think when you speak, I think that you can call yourself fluent at that point. How many iTalki tutors is enough for beginners at one time? J Mood, I would try 2 or 3, because you might find that one doesn't know what they're talking about, or one is, I don't know. I think you also want to have tutors of different genders, you know what I mean? Because I don't really hear, this is not a, men and women can say whatever they want, but I don't really hear a lot of men in Spanish say, olis, right? Those of you that know what that means, I don't hear men say olis, but Sharon used to say that to me. So if I only had Sharon as a tutor, and then I went to where did I go? What's that place in Lima? Hold on. I went to Barranco in Lima, which is like it's un mercado muy caliente, okay? If I went there and I was like, olis, señor, that dude would have looked at me like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you talking to me like that? You know, so I would say male and female tutor, so you can just hear some subtle differences maybe. And also you want to get used to different people speaking different ways. So yeah, 2 or 3 is fine. I thought it was right before I began. I just hit 4 years of learning Spanish about a few days ago. Just wanted to say congratulations. Your Spanish is very good. Michelle, thank you. And congratulations to you as well for sticking with it for so long. And I'm A2 level, but about B1. And thank you for responding, Mike. Of course, Brody, of course. I watch live streams as well, and I hate when people don't respond to my comments. So I'm going to respond to all of you. Mike, did you ever want to adopt a certain Spanish accent, or do you want a neutral one? I wanted to adopt a Colombian accent, Carlito, pero me di cuenta que era casi imposible. I just uploaded a video about that. Entonces, when I realized that it was basically impossible, that regardless, what's going to happen is people are going to realize, like, oh, this dude's not Colombian. He's putting on a front. He's acting. Once I realized that was inevitable, I was like, yeah, I'll just speak with a neutral accent. I'm not gonna lie. In certain instances, I do put a little extra sauce on my Spanish, but yeah, I don't. I don't want to have a specific accent. I'd like to have a neutral accent. I actually would like to have an accent where I speak Spanish well, but people can tell that I'm a foreigner. I like the question like, "Usted de dónde es? ¿De dónde es? No eres colombiano, no, no eres lo que sea, no eres panameño, no, no, pero soy estadounidense." Baseline has a 9 level curriculum that you can follow, or you can suggest. Sorry, Baseline. I can't read. I promise. Baseline has a 9 level curriculum that you can follow, or you can suggest to ask for specific tutoring or conversations. Okay, that's a good idea. I might have to test that out. Hola, Mike. Soy de Kenia y me gusta tu manera de enseñar español para inglés hablantes. Zachary, muchísimas gracias. Asante sana. Ninataka kusafiri Kenya. Lakini, si, ¿cómo se dice? I don't have situni tiempo. I forgot to say time in Swahili, Zachary. Lakini, ninataka kusafiri Kenya. Kwa sababu ninapenda culture. I forgot to say culture in Swahili, pero ninataka kusafiri Kenyan culture. Na, I forgot. I wanted to say the people. Mwanafanzi? No, I can't remember. I think 10 hours a week is perfect to do a lot of classes. Agreed. Are you looking for employment where you will use your Spanish language fluency? Menda, I already have a job where I use Spanish every day. I'm an ESOL teacher, not burnout. Jr. What were you referring to there? Okay. Oh, you're referring to Lavelle. I know Mexican accent is pretty popular, but I like the sound of the Dominican accent. Okay, yeah, Dominican accent. You should check out Ricky from Bilingual Blogs. He has a lot of information, a lot of content that can help you with that. If you're paying $25 per class on iTalki, you can get 6 classes a month for $150 plus the iTalki fees. Agreed, Jr. But paying $25 per class on iTalki is optional. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do. I'm sorry, I'm reading Carlito's comment. Oh, yeah, you don't have to pay that much. Their tutor's there for $7, $10, and there's not a correlation per se. There can be, but there's not always a correlation with a tutor's rate and the quality of the class. Because sometimes when the tutors charge that much, they want you to do the class their way. Like, oh, you need to learn this. You need to do this worksheet. You need to do it like this, and that's not always best. A lot of times that isn't best. I remember I got on there and this one tutor, I paid a lot of money thinking, oh yeah, she's a professional tutor. And I already at that point knew the difference between ser y estar, and she had me sitting there for an hour going through ser y estar. And she was also insulting my intelligence a lot too. Like, you understand? Like, sí, entiendo. ¿Estás seguro que entiendes? Sí, señora, sí entiendo. So yeah, it just depends. My tutor is Colombiana, and she's like my best friend now. Yeah, it happens. It happens. Again, me and Sharon, that's my road dog now for life. And I met her as a tutor. Baseling raised their prices from 150 to 180. Ouch, wow. I want to work for you. Menda doing what? Explain. Grandfather rate. Ah, okay, JR, got it. Have you thought about opening an English to Spanish to translation interpreting agency? Menda, I haven't, but you know what I have thought about when I'm older, when I retire, I would love to open up a like in Atlanta. In Atlanta, there's some English schools, and I don't know if I would like to do that here, but I wouldn't mind in some beach town in Costa Rica or Panama or Colombia somewhere, or in Puerto Rico or one of these tropical places. I would not mind opening up a English school accompanied by a Spanish school for people that come down. So like the storyline would be, yeah, this guy when he was in his early 20s learned Spanish. He's been speaking it for 30 years. He retired as an ESL teacher. He goes back and forth from the States, but his home base is in this small, this little town in Costa Rica somewhere near a volcano. And he offers these immersive trips for college students, studying abroad, or for retirees, or for anyone that has the time to come down and learn Spanish. And then I go around, I ingratiate myself in the community. I teach the locals English. And at the same time, they're willing to help me out in my little field trips that I do with the people that book immersive trips with me. So that's something that very much interested in. I literally have it written down in the notes on my phone. I bought your book when it first came out. I like it very much, but really needed more room to write answers. That's my only complaint. It's a great resource. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate that so much. That's a legitimate criticism that I can work on. I actually can still update that. I think obviously it's going to expand the amount of, it's going to increase the pages, but I definitely appreciate that insight. Something I had to consider, but you're right, and it needs to have a lot more space to write those sentences in because there are a lot of sentences. Yeah, Jr. Yeah, it was. I was on the 150. They sent me an email saying prices are going up. Your next bill will be 180. That exceeded the amount of time I could use it. Yeah, unfortunately. Is it normal when you first start to speak Spanish, your body feels exhausted? I started speaking Spanish for 20 to 30 minutes a day, and I feel super exhausted. MLB, that's so funny because it's so true. It's so true. I went to a language exchange near Lenox Mall. Those of you that are in the Metro Atlanta area near Lenox Mall, the Latin American Association is up there, and they have language exchanges every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. or Wednesday, I think at 5:30 p.m. And I went to one a few days ago, and I was talking to this guy, two guys, one who came from Colombia and one who came from Venezuela, and I was asking them, "Do you guys not get English fatigue? Like, do you not want to just talking your native language for a while? Like, do you ever get to a point where you're like, I'm done speaking English for today. I'm tired of it." And they're like, yeah, like after a while, you just want to speak in your native tongue. You know what I mean? You don't want to think about not making mistakes or speaking properly. And so I can definitely understand that. My fatigue does not come after 30 minutes. I've not been in an environment where I have to speak it 24 hours a day. In Costa Rica, I will be because of who I'm staying with. And so we'll see. I can come back to you with more feedback on that. I remember those days though when 30 minutes to it. Like I remember after an iTalki class feeling like, whew, like that's a lot. Like I've studied for today. I've squeezed out a lot of mental energy towards this learning process today. Right now, no me pasa tanto. I've consumed a lot of different accents when I first started Spanish. I definitely agree that focusing on just one when you start will help out. Agree, Jacoby. And I had to learn that from Uju, especially when she was like, "Yeah, I don't try to sound like this. I just sound like this," and it's an innocent explanation and it's an innocent rationale, but it makes sense. I mean, if you're only listening to people speak that way, you're going to speak that way. You know what I mean? I mean, have you ever seen? I've seen videos of like maybe like a child of like I don't know Thai immigrants will move to like Oklahoma, like a random place in Oklahoma, and then the kid grows up and they have like an identical accent to the like a southern accent from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and it's like this is an interesting phenomenon. But it's simply because since the kid was a baby, he was just around that. His teacher sounded like that. His friends sounded like that. His everybody in his community sounded like that except for his parents, and they were speaking a completely different language, and so it makes sense. Gracias por todo. Encontré tus videos cuando empecé aprendiendo hace 4 meses. Compré tu libro. Es muy útil. Aprecio tu ejemplo. Pacific Pavers. Lo aprecio mucho, la verdad. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much. Por favor, me puedes decir, I'm not sure how well your Spanish is, so let me know. I can say it in both. Por favor, me puedes decir qué es lo que a ti te gusta del libro y por favor, un poco de crítica, qué pena, casi traducí criticism as criticismo, pero es crítica. A little bit of critique of the book, anything that you think could be improved or could have been improved. But I appreciate that, and I'm not sure based on your company name. It looks like that's your company. If you're around native Spanish speakers a lot, I don't know. I'm just guessing if your job or your business has anything to do with your desire to learn Spanish. I'm just curious, why do you want to learn it, or why did you start to learn? Wait, so okay, you guys are talking about the rate. 150 rate is only for new people or people returning in January. Yeah, Mike, appreciate it, man, for the gems. Also, would your Spanish be considered native level or B2, BC1? Thanks a lot to everyone. James, I'm actually going to take one of those tests when I get out of grad school. I'm going to take one so that I can tell you formally what my level is. From everything that I've heard, I think I'd be C1. I don't even know what that means though. Like I don't know what that means, but like I can read I was reading a peer-reviewed article, like research article about one of the leading causes of death for men in Colombia. I know this is so random, okay, but I was reading an article, or literally a peer-reviewed research article about the leading causes of death among Colombian men from ages 18 to 35. Unfortunately, it's homicide. In some countries, it's suicide. In some countries, it's drug overdose. but unfortunately in Colombia Thomas had. And I was reading that, and it's written at profession at university level, obviously for other professors to critique, and I understood it. And so I'm using that as a gauge for my reading level at least. And so if I can read academic papers, I think I'm okay. So yeah, I think so. I think I'd be a C1, but I have no idea. Yeah, that there's certain stuff reserved for teens, women, and all language. I say porfis and olis, but only be funny. Yeah, yeah, Jalen. If you're in, I don't know if you would be here, but if you're in the center of Cali, Colombia, and you greet another guy with like olis, I don't know if that's a good idea. Not that it's a bad idea. Not that no es que te van a atracar, pero es raro. Thank you. You're welcome, J Mood. JR, man, I don't know, but that move seemed shady to me, so I canceled. Thorplin, I agree. I think it's only right. It's only good customer service to grandfather your previous customers in instead of trying to squeeze a buck out of them. But hey, we don't know their accounting, their the back end of their finances. With Spanish, it's hard because there are too many accents. Jr., I get it, but I think that's the beauty in it. I think that's the beauty in it. It is tough, but it's not impossible. It's not an impossible feat. Imagine this, Jr. I'm gonna just I don't like when people do this, but I'll give you the comparison game. Imagine having to learn a completely different writing system that where Latin letters aren't learned, hence Mandarin Chinese or Japanese. Imagine having to learn noun classes which exist in Swahili, where if you want to describe something as big or small, let's say, it's I can't even describe it. They have these things called noun classes where if you want to use the word small, it has a different prefix if you're talking about an inanimate object, if you're talking about a plant, if you're talking about a fruit, if you're talking about a human being, if you're talking about a place. Like if you say small city, you still it's a different you say small in Spanish you say ciudad pequeña, celular pequeño. Like it's the same word, but in Swahili it's the same word, but you have different prefixes, and there are like 7 of them, and so it's tough. The bounty. So I'm saying all that to say, comparatively, it's okay. It's not too bad. It is tough, but it's not too bad. Plus, you can focus on one and then pick up the rest from the others later. I have your book. I haven't finished it yet. The bounty. I appreciate that so much. Again, if the book is helping, please let me know. That's the reason I wrote that 2 summers ago. If it's not, I'm sorry. If there are any things that you think I could have improved on, please let me know. You have a neutral accent, but you can hear the Colombian influence. I'm biased because I know your history, but I like to think that I would know all anyways. Yeah. Jalen, estoy de acuerdo y como te dije, no, la verdad es que yo puedo echar un poco de sazón al español mío. Por ejemplo, cuando digo palabras como pelao, cosas así, o sea, la D me suena muy colombiano. Ay, qué pena, muy colombiano. Pero obviamente, o sea, yo puedo exagerar el acento mucho, pero no me gusta. For example, Jalen, today I was watching some street interviews in Australia, and I heard some Australian kids like speaking with like a Southern American accent, and I was like, "Come on, guys, like, chill, like, relax." You know what I mean? Like, it would be just as excuse me, just as odd as somebody from here doing an interview, like acting like they're from Australia. It's kind of odd. It's like, what are you doing? That's the same reason why I don't like when American artists try to do like Afrobeat or like I mean it can be tasteful, but I listen to Afrobeat to hear someone with an African accent, whatever that means. I listen to music, Latin music to hear Spanish speakers speaking Spanish, like Drake doing a Latin remix or something. It's okay, but it just seems inauthentic to me. That might be personal taste. Some people love that kind of stuff. This is Lafayette. Ben, what is the biggest issue that you can currently have at your Spanish advanced level? Good question. Good question. Good question. I don't know. Um, like just the things I was talking about in the most recent video, little small stuff. Like I was telling you guys, the reason my hair is cut is because I cut a bald spot in my head. I didn't know how to say bald spots, like bald spots. If I say I caught a cramp, how do you say that? I have a cramp. Like stuff like that would be the most difficult. Just little weird stuff like that, or the sole of your foot. Like how do you say that? Um, just things like that. I'm looking around. Pillow, I can say. Lamp, all this stuff I can say. I don't even know how to say pinch someone. Pinch him. Pinch him. I'm going to pinch you. I don't know how to say that. All right, guys, I'm going to be on for 11 more minutes. 11 more minutes. Thorpeland, yeah, they charged me 180 at first. Had to ask for a refund. Oh, okay, okay. You got to advocate for yourself. I need to practice on my Swahili. I already know Spanish. Ndio, ndio. I can't remember how you say you need to, but I remember how to say try. It's kujaribu. So you need to try. You need to try. I need to try. Um, Sin, how are you? Hope you're doing well these days. Good to catch you live. Thank you for joining. Sin, it's just so ironic, okay? You're not gonna believe me. You're gonna think I'm saying this just coincidentally because you joined. Sin, I was watching your movie reviews earlier today. I was. Literally, I was watching while I was cooking, I had your movie reviews in the background. I don't know why I thought about you today. The word I think is serendipity, I guess. But I just thought about the interview. I know why, because I was thinking about interviews that I had done with other people, and I was like, I wonder what Sin's doing if she's uploaded a video recently. And then I went to your channel and started watching some of your recent. I didn't mean to say interview, I meant review, but and I started watching some of your reviews. So good to see you. Hace mucho tiempo que no hablamos, no? This is Lafayette, Ben. What is the biggest issue? I read that already, I think. Maybe I'll ask them for a discount. Yeah, definitely advocate for yourself. I don't ever try to have a Spanish accent. I'm good with my Southern accent. Yeah, yeah. Techno. I think we need to work on it a little bit. You know what I mean? We don't want to sound like "Hola, soy de Georgia" or "Soy de Texas," obviously, right? But with a little acentico, no creo que está mal. How many hours do you recommend listening to Spanish per day? I'm using Dreaming Spanish. The Bounty, if you're only using that, I would follow their recommendations. But if you're using that along with some reading resources and some other things, 30 minutes to an hour a day, um, I think so. Mendoza, I have an MBA. How do I become an ESL teacher? I'm in New York. You will never be out of work. I'll tell you that up there. None of us will be if you're doing this because of the changing demographics of the United States of America. But, and just in general, I think this has always been something that is needed. It's a federal mandate for schools. You need to look into New York's teaching certification requirements because you need to get that at first. I had that already, and so I just needed to take a course, like a 9-month course. It cost me like $1,500, and then I was certified to do that. Once I got certified, I applied and got the job immediately once they knew I was bilingual, because most people that try they're not bilingual. But long story short, check into because a lot of states, Minda, the district itself will facilitate that certification process, for lack of a better way of describing that. So you just have to do some independent research on what New York's requirements are for that. James, you live in Atlanta? Okay, yeah. You missed the story about me being near Grady Hospital and almost getting shot, unfortunately, which is why I have a lot of trepidation, a lot of hesitation towards traveling. But yeah, I noticed a lot of people, they're not far. Watching you in Quick Tempo Journey to learn Spanish keeps me going. Every time I feel like quitting, I keep y'all in mind. Much respect. Eric, that is why I upload YouTube videos. I appreciate that so much. That's literally the only reason why I upload YouTube videos. Literally the only reason why. Because again, I was looking for that when I started learning Spanish. I have to thank Demain, who was in here. Yeah, I don't know if he left, but I have to thank him and Ricky from Bilingue Blogs. Those two literally. Also have to thank Ford Quarterman. I'm not sure if you all know who that is. Ford Quarterman. If you do know who he is, if you could let me know. Those three guys literally, and Kobe Bryant, but they were the reason why I did not give up learning Spanish. I was like, if they can do it, I can do it. So yeah, I'm glad that I'm able to serve that purpose, pay that forward again, uploading YouTube videos. That's literally the reason why I upload them. So thank you so much. Y por favor, no te rindas. Please don't give up. No te rindas. Please don't give up. Any iTalki teachers that you recommend to teach past tense? Minda, these iTalki teachers are not going to be your best bet at learning the past tense. Your best bet is going to be to use a resource online to do that. They can help you understand it, but it has to click on your own. It just has to click. So I couldn't give you a recommendation specifically to teach you that. The ones that I've recommended to you, though, they can do that very well. Eric, salute. Exactly. Agreed, Eric. Where at in Linux Mall? I want to attend. MLB, it's not it's not at Linux Mall, it's the Latin American Association. It's right down the street from Linux Mall. It's on, let me give you the address. Latin American. It's on Buford Highway, but it's like it's like at the start of Buford Highway. So it's like literally right down the street from Linux. Let me send the address really quick. That's the address right there. So again, on Tuesdays, you go in there and they've got a lot of people that you can practice with. And I noticed I can't go every week, but when I'm off of work, I can go. Yeah, obviously, you know, the traffic, it starts at 5:30. And without traffic, I may be like 35, 40 minutes from Linux. With traffic, it's an hour and 15 minutes. You guys know how Atlanta traffic is. And so what I've noticed the few times that I've gone, it's only been 3 or 4, the same people go. And so you'll meet a lot of people and you'll get to make connections. So yeah, and I actually found that there are a lot of times at language exchanges, you have a lot of native English speakers and few Spanish speakers. There, it's not like that. I guess because it's literally the Latin American Association, and people are literally coming out of their English classes to join that event. But yeah, you should definitely check it out. Eula, I live in Oklahoma, and yes, verdad. Yeah, Eula, I see a lot of videos like that, like Chinese immigrant that is a cowboy on the western side of Oklahoma, and it's like it's such an interesting dynamic there, an interesting cultural exchange out there. Latinos in the UK or Australia is hilarious. Their Spanglish is so different. The accents clash so much. Yeah, it's just that's a unique mix. That's a unique mix. Um, a friend of mine who's Jamaican sent me a video yesterday of a Jamaican girl by nationality, but whose parents immigrated to Jamaica from Germany maybe like 30 years ago. And just seeing stuff like that to me is just unique. It's just like this girl speaking pure patois, and she looks just like she's straight from Berlin somewhere, or I don't know. I almost said Moscow. Wow, but another German city. I can't think of any. Munich. Munich is in Germany. Yeah. I want to attend as well. Oh, you already can you DM me the address, Mike? I don't have Instagram or anything, but I'll copy the address in here again. And if you can, it's right there. Just type in Latin American Association. You can go in there and practice a lot. It's like 30 minutes you practice in Spanish, 30 minutes you practice in English. Vante, yo, what's up, Vante? And Tempo, what's good, fam? Hope you're healing well. Same. Jalen, you're walking? Really? No tenía ni idea. Just found your channel, so many interviews to go through. Nice. Much respect for Southwest. From Southwest Metro Atlanta? Okay. Camello. You should watch the playback of this video. I love the area, pero hay que tener cuidado también. Me da calambre. Jalen, enséñame qué significa me da calambre, no sé. MLB Property Group. I don't have Instagram. No me gustan las redes sociales y tampoco me gustan los celulares. Usualmente este celular está en otra parte de la casa. La única razón por I'm going to talk to you in English. The only reason I don't like being around my phone, the only reason my phone is right here is because I had to use it to check to see if the live stream was working. I'm not a fan of my phone like that. I just don't like being pegado a mi celular. Calambre. Menda and Jalen, what does calambre mean? Sí tengo un negocio de construcción y la mayoría de mis trabajadores son de México. Pensé que mi español mejoraría, pero no puse ningún esfuerzo, solo aprendí frases. Okay. Pacific Pavers, if you translated that with Google Translate, great. If you did that on your own, buen trabajo, hermano. Buen trabajo, la verdad. Pero tienes muchas razones para aprender. You'll be back in no time. Quick, simple. Let's start this calisthenics journey. De acuerdo. Me puse como objetivo el último diciembre ser fluido para el próximo diciembre. Así que estoy trabajando y estudiando todos los días. Que sigas estudiando. Felipe, ¿qué más, hermano? Buenas. I'm not going to act like I can speak Portuguese right now. I'm not going to act like it. Bom dia. That's all I can say. And it's not day out there. It's nighttime, so. Are you on LinkedIn, Menda? I'm not. Menda, if you'd like, you can send me an email. My email is this. And I'm bad with checking email also. I apologize, guys. But here's my email. I'm going to hurry, guys, because I'm going to stop in a few minutes. Yeah, I was listening to Ford earlier. Ford's language. Yeah, Ford is amazing. Ford's Spanish is amazing. And again, Ford motivated me because Ford's from Georgia. I grew up with a guy that that reminds me, or Ford reminds me a lot of one of my friends named Chandler. And so yeah, Ford is amazing. And he's a Georgia boy through and through. So he motivated me a lot also to say, all right, he's from an hour away from me. He can from North Georgia. If he can learn it, I can learn it. Ricky from Great, he is one of my tutors. Ricky is amazing. Ricky is one of those few people that has been able to reach native level fluency. Can keep this live uploaded on your channel. I definitely will. I am motivation. I'll keep it up. Looking back, Ben, on your Spanish journey, did you ever take time from studying? If so, how long? Did you ever want to quit, and how did you overcome it? I wanted to quit a lot. I wanted to quit a lot. I wanted to quit a lot. That's normal. Did I take time from studying? I think I maybe took 2 weeks one time of not studying. Anytime I was sick, I did not study consistently. But again, studying in the beginning looks different than studying after 10 months. After 10 months, studying is me in my bed watching a YouTube video, sick, and having another app open, Spanish Dict open, translating as any word that I don't know. But if I was sick, I didn't study, and then I think I maybe took a month or no, not that long, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks off from studying. But I was pretty consistent. I had the goal of learning it, and if I have a goal, I do my best to stay consistent and achieve it. Oh my gosh, my hair. Did I ever want to quit? How did you overcome it? Overcoming it, I had a couple of people. Again, my friend Sharon, who she and I are still good friends now, and my other friend Juan, who were both my tutors starting out. I essentially built very strong relationships with them. And so, for example, how can I say this? Like, I don't know. Like, I have friends even now where we share certain hobbies. And so, if I were to just say, "Oh, forget this hobby," we wouldn't really. I have friends that we're friends regardless, and I have friends that are my friends because we share certain interests. And so if I were just to one day just say, yeah, I'm done with this, I'm not doing this anymore, our friendships would suffer. As a result, I mean, using that same in that same vein rather, if I had quit, I knew at the time I would have lost a friendship with Sharon and a friendship with Juan. I did not want to lose that friendship. Plus, I saw the benefit. I started to see the benefit in speaking Spanish in where I live. Anywhere I went, I could hear the language. People were asking me to translate, and so yeah, I wanted to quit a lot. That's normal. You want to quit. It's your body. It's your brain's reaction to something that's daunting and hard. A lot of hard work, but it was worth it. Very much worth it. Calambre is cramp. We typed that when you said, oh, yeah. Okay. Sí, gracias. Muchas gracias por enseñarme eso. MLB Property Group. I'm glad you're feeling better. MLB Property Group, thank you so much. The only thing, good position does suck. Yeah. The only thing that I'm still dealing with, and again, guys, this is the last comment I'll respond to. After this, I have to go. I have to get ready for work tomorrow. I've been sleeping late. And if I don't go to sleep on time, I will not get to work on time tomorrow. But the only thing that's still affecting me is dizziness. That carbon monoxide poisoning typically takes 120 days. It takes 120 days for your red blood cells to completely regenerate. My last exposure date was like February 17th. So March 17th marked 30 days. April 17th will mark 60 days, and I have not reached it. We have not reached April 16th yet. I can't remember what day I said initially. If February 16th to April 16th would be 60 days, and I've not reached that point yet. So I still get dizzy a little bit, but thankfully I'm still alive. Thank God I'm still alive. Guys, I appreciate you all so much. I thank you for joining this live. Next week, next Sunday around this, maybe a few hours before this, I have a Spanish in the Streets video coming out. And so I hope you all enjoy that. After that, I have an interview with my buddy Carlos Crazy that came and visited my house here, or visited me rather. I'm thinking in Spanish. Que visito a mi casa. And so I hope you all enjoy those videos. I plan on uploading a lot more videos outside of interview style. Los aprecio mucho. Que se cuiden. Y que hablemos la próxima vez. Say muchas gracias. I had to step away and come back to hear you mentioning that you've been watching one of my views. Yeah, I was thinking about you earlier today. And so I was watching a couple of your videos actually. Pero chicos, muchísimas gracias. Hasta la próxima. La próxima vez no voy a ser calvo. Qué pena. Thank you, Thorplin. I appreciate that so much. Honestly, you guys don't know how much these comments keep me uploading YouTube videos. Los aprecio mucho, perdón. Y hasta la próxima. Chao.